Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Curse of Strahd, Twice Bitten, the show where 5 DMs take on D&D's top Gothic horror campaign. As always, I am Dragnacarta, your host and DM, and welcome back. After last night's events, I'm sure that this one will be full of sunshine, puppies, and rainbows. So,
Yeah, we're gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
let's hear. A quick note, sadly, Amity will not be present today. Linus had another obligation. He will be dearly missed, but he should be back next week. So yeah, I think that's all we've got. We, of course, have some more announcements after the break, but we'll get there in due time. For now, that's everything out of the way, so let's get started with Curse of Strahd, Twice Bitten. And welcome back. So, getting back to business. Last we left on Curse of Strahd, Twice Bitten. Returning to Vallaki after a successful mission to the Wizard of Wine's winery, the party found Ismark Kolyanovich wounded and exiled from town, with his sister, Irina, taken captive by Izek Strozny, the right-hand man and sociopathic enforcer of the town's burgomaster, Baron Vargas Volakovich. Drawing on the efforts of old allies and taking risks to make new ones, the companions gleaned sufficient information to begin planning Irina's rescue. The companions learned that Irina was being held in the Baron's mansion, and that Izek had not been seen leaving its walls since she had been kidnapped during the Festival of the Blazing Sun. Together, the party prepared to stage a daring rescue once they'd fully prepared and exhausted their sources of information, and turned in for the night. As Metreon departed for Saint Andral's church, however, to seek the counsel and wisdom of Father Lucian, a familiar prophetic dream warned Amity that the church would soon face a great and deadly danger. The party rushed to St. Andral's church, only to arrive just as a horde of bats flooded the interior, panicking the congregants in the chapel into a terrified mob. As Father Lucian pleaded desperately for calm, the Wallachians rushed desperately outside, directly into the waiting arms and teeth of 6 hidden and ravenous vampire spawn. As the party struggled to halt the massacre, Strahd entered the church alone, confronting Father Lucian and draining the priest's blood before tearing at his throat before Metreon's eyes. At Amity's guidance, the party took shelter with a few surviving congregants in an abandoned building nearby, though not before the vast majority of the churchgoers were slaughtered to sate the vampire's appetites. As the spawn departed into the night, seemingly satisfied with the fear and death they'd wrought, Ismark agreed to remain behind to look after the survivors. Lillison and Kiva departed, Lillison to the Blue Water Inn and Kiva to the Baron's manor, aiming to warn him of the events that had just occurred. However, Kiva's efforts proved fruitless, and soon grew into a full-blown confrontation when the Baron's spiteful words provoked Kiva into delivering a well-provoked punch. The Baron fled, summoning Izek Strozny to drive the trespassers from the Baron's home. As Ezek dueled Kiva and Amity in the foyer, Metroyan and Erthrendir rushed upstairs, following Viktor Volakovich's whispered directions as they broke into Ezek's room. With the aid of a mysterious, raven-like humanoid, Kiva and Amity killed Ezek, as Metroyan and Erthrendir cut Irina free. Together, the party fled into the dark of the Vallakian streets, the Baron's mastiffs howling after them amidst the night. And so, we return. Lillison. Earlier in the evening, as you make your way through the dark streets of Vallaki, you see behind you Kiva splitting off from the path, her shadow darting down a southern street as your own feet continue to take you toward the Blue Water Inn. The tavern is dark, and as you approach it, you can see that the shutters on the lower and upper floors appear to be closed, shutter tight, that you can just faintly gleam a flickering light, almost beckoning you from behind the slats of the first floor tap room. As you approach the entrance, the door quietly clicks open, and you see there Danica Mardikov, holding in a small saucer a dripping candle, casting a flickering amber gold light the entryway. She raises a hand to you and quickly waves you over.
Listen, still looking very wooden-faced and moving, if not stiffly, then at least a little like she's not entirely seeing where she's going, moves over to her with just no expression.
Danica meets your eyes and murmurs to you, hissing quietly, Are you injured? What happened? Where are the others?
I'm not injured. The others of my group are fine as well. There are people who died tonight.
She sucks in a breath, nodding. Yes, that is what I've heard. Quick. Child, come inside. We don't want to be out on the streets for too long tonight. And she does her best to usher you inside. Do you resist at all?
Not even a single bit.
All right. As you do, you hear the fluttering of wings taking off from the roof, and you see a small black shape curving through the night sky, banking southward away from the roof of the inn. Danica shuts the door behind you, placing the candle down on a nearby table. She gives you a nod. Have a seat. I'll see what I can get for you. You look shaken. And without even waiting for you, she pulls out a chair for you and moves off toward the bar.
Wilson will just move to the chair and sit down and stare into space.
A few moments later, Danica returns. You can now smell a slightly sweet scent drifting from the kitchen, and you can see a small flickering light coming from there. Danica comes out bearing a small platter, a bit of bread, and a few small pieces of dried fruit. If you're hungry, this should perhaps help settle the stomach a bit. I've put some mulled wine on in the kitchen. They should be ready in a few minutes. But you said that your companions, the others, you said that they were elsewhere.
Yes. I'm not entirely certain where, but they weren't following me.
She nods. Right. We'll keep an eye out for them then. Here, I'll fetch you some wine once it's properly heated. If you need to rest here for a moment, then please take your time, but I do not know how much more time we will have.
You've been too kind to us. Why?
She's halfway back to the bar when you say this, and she glances back over her shoulder. Pursing her lips, she actually wrinkles her forehead a bit, crinkling her eyebrows. Is it so much of a surprise that... She pauses, closing her eyes and then smiles softly. My dear, my husband and I own an inn. Hospitality is what we do. And if there are people in need, then is it truly so surprising that an innkeeper would do what they can to keep them warm and safe? She smiles, and before you can speak says, if you need anything, please let me know.
Lillison will just nod, reach for a piece of the bread, and start chewing on it, still not really looking as if she is 100% aware of what she's doing.
You do so for a few minutes. As you finish up one of the crusts of bread, you hear footsteps coming from upstairs. You see one of the doors in the upper balcony, the one you have not been to, open, outstepping Erwin, looking distressed and somewhat anxious. He glances down and nods. Good, you're here and safe. Danica is downstairs, I presume.
Yes.
He nods. Good. You might wish to prepare yourself. There may be trouble approaching soon. And with that, he makes his way down the steps and swiftly moves toward the kitchen. You hear hushed voices for a few moments from the kitchen. And then a minute later, you see Danica and Erwin emerging together. Danica gives Erwin a nod, and he nods in return before making his way upstairs, returning to the same room from which he came. Danica offers you a kind smile, but you especially can tell that there is a specter of anxiety behind her eyes. I will have to apologize about that mulled wine. It seems that we might need to take quicker action than I had supposed. Your friends seem to be on their way.
I understand.
They should be here. She glances toward the door, and as she does, you can hear the sound of a raven's caw echoing in the dark night. Soon. As she says this, Akiva, Erthrendir, Amity, and Metreon, you find yourselves on the road just outside the grounds of the Burgomaster's manor. Behind you, you can hear the dogs howling. You can see a few lights flickering like candlelight in the upper windows of the nearby houses. And leaning on you for support, Kiva, Irina panting, looking tired and her eyes wide. What do you all do?
Kiva would just pick up Irina at this point and get ready to run off with her once she knows that everyone is prepared.
Erthrendir is going to look frantically between the four. All right, long shot, but any of you have anything very, pungent in your pack, smelly, anything? We need to, if we don't throw these things off our scent, we're dead.
Kiva says, I've got rations in my backpack, but that's about it.
That'll do. Can you throw them out? Might keep them delayed long enough for...
Yeah, Kiva would throw out, I guess, half of what she has, so that's 4 of them, and she just sort of throw them, chuck them in the opposite direction of where they're going to be going.
He gives her a grateful nod. All right, y'all ready?
Metreon, are you okay?
Think he's I think he'll be fine. We just I think we gotta go.
Okay, fine. So we'll go. So with Irina in tow, she's gonna make sure that Erthrendir gets the head start, and then we'll just run away.
Yep. The deer will make sure that Amity and Metreon are keeping up, but once he's sure they are, he is sprinting.
All right.
Yeah. Metreon is trying to struggle to keep up, and obviously pretty winded, having pratfalled onto the first floor from the second. So he's kind of tasting the blood coming out of his nose and feeling those open wounds still that Ezek cleaved into his chest, but he's got this kind of adrenaline rush that kind of keeps him running with everybody else.
All right, you make your way fleeing through the streets of Vallaki, your heart's pounding in your chests, your feet thudding on the muddy, barely cobbled earth. You see the Baron's mansion soon vanish into the dark mists of the Barovia night behind you as you dodge onto the main street. In the distance, you can see approaching the Blue Water Inn, a light flickering not only on the bottom floor but on the upper floor as well. And as you approach the front entryway, the door creaks open, and there you see Danica Durakova holding one arm across the door, glancing around nervously to the street outside, and raising a hand. Quick, inside, before anyone sees.
Yeah, Kiva doesn't even let up until she's like almost at the bar itself. She's like, until she's inside the building, firmly inside of it, does she finally look around and set Irina down on a chair and just sort of crouches down in front of her, like nursing wounds and just making sure that she's okay.
Erthrendir kind of takes a look around and a desperate look at Danica. Hey, I know there's a lot to ask, but do you...
What did you do?
What?
What did you do?
Broke her out of the Baron's manor.
I can see that. What else did you do?
The Baron may have gotten punched in the face by someone at the time. Also, Izek's dead.
All right. If Starazi is dead, then we might have more time.
Yeah.
I need to know what your intentions are swiftly.
Erthrendir looks around at the others.
We were told by one of your friends who came in to help us that we could find safety here for the night, that you would know what to do and we would be able to hide out here.
Yeah. Do you have like a wine cellar or a basement somewhere sweeps wouldn't think to look?
I can do better than that. Erwin has already prepared it. Please, follow me.
Corellian, bless you. And
Kiva just picks up Irina again and we're going off.
Erthrendir's going to take a look at Metreon. Hey, oh god, your nose. Can you move?
Yeah. Let's just go.
Yeah, alright.
You follow Danica up these stairs toward the western balcony, opposite the balcony from which your guest rooms previously stood. As you do, you see 3 doors, 2 to the right-hand side and 1 at the very end. The door at the end clicks open. You can hear a lock turning, and as it does, you can see Adrian Mardukov poke his head out. He meets Danica's eyes, and Danica quickly shakes her head, shushing him. Erwin will be with you shortly. Stay in there. With that, Danica turns to the first door on her right, opening it. You can see there what appears to be a large and well-appointed bedroom. You can see matching end tables flanking a large wood-framed bed with a red silk canopy. Across from the bed, you can see hanging a tapestry depicting a beautiful mountain valley, the other walls dominated by a fireplace and a wardrobe. You watch as Danica moves to the wardrobe, opening it and taking out a long broom from the corner. She moves toward the center of the room, lifting the edge of the broom's pole to the ceiling, and in a place where you hadn't previously noted, it prods the tile in the wooden ceiling just long enough for you to recognize that there's a hatch there hidden. She pushes upward and pulls it back down, and as it does, you watch it slowly descending from the ceiling comes a hidden trapdoor and a wooden ladder that descends to the room below. She glances toward each of you. Upstairs, quickly now.
Yeah.
I've followed behind everybody else, but I'll go upstairs.
Yeah. Earthendeer stops for a moment, like kind of a far away look in his eyes, but then he'll follow.
Once everyone else is up, Kiva will help Irina get up there first, and then we'll make sure that everyone else is in and come up herself.
Right. So you'll follow Amity in, and as each of you makes your way upstairs, you enter into a 10-foot wide, 35-foot long attic that has a ceiling that slants downward toward the west, dropping from a height of 8 feet to a height of 5 feet. You see toward the south side of the room, several large piles of straw lie piled up against the wall, with a small square opening in the south wall just above them, seeming to lead outside. You see 2 trapdoors with iron hinges set into the floor, one from which you have now emerged, and one that seems to lead downwards into another room slightly to the south of you. You can see Erwin standing against the south wall, abruptly turning to face you, his face somewhat dark, but he offers a small sigh of relief as he sees you. Good, you made it here. You made it here safely. I'm glad to see that you seem to be well. And he winces, seeing Kiva's injuries and Metrion's relatively well. This attic should be well hidden enough for you to stay the night without the Baron or his forces locating you. Please forgive me, it's not entirely comfortable.
Metrion just kind of trails off as he's talking and just goes to find one of the corners furthest away from the trapdoor and just sinks down into it.
Berthendir looks at Erwin. I don't know why you have this, but whatever the reason, thank you. We'll do our best not to make your lives dangerous for any longer than we can, I promise.
Danica nods. All right, but if nothing else, we can put you up here till morning. Erwin will make sure you're all settled. I believe I have some mulled wine brewing downstairs. I'll fetch a few cups. Perhaps they should steady the nerves. And she makes her way to the ladder and begins making her way downstairs.
Wait, Lillison? Is she here? We ought to get her up here. She might...
Lillison would have followed you upstairs, unless Kaya says otherwise.
Lillison would have been sitting there the entire time.
Gotcha. Then you would have seen Lillison when you came in. She was right by the door.
Oh, okay.
Danica does a quick count size, and I'll fetch you a friend as well. I'll be right back. She makes her way downstairs, and you hear her footsteps slowly receding. Erwin glances around at the lot of you. As I'm sure you can surmise, this attic is directly above a few rooms, one of which through which you entered is the room of my wife and I. Should you need anything in the night, simply knock on the trapdoor, and we shall do what we can to see that you are comfortable and secured. We may advise you to remain here, however, until we can inform you that it's safe. You may be able to observe some of the street outside through the opening in the southern window, but again, I should request that you remain here until we inform you that it's clear.
That's fine by us. Do you mind, though, if you see him? Ismark was in one of the houses with some of the survivors from the church. So, if you can get him to us at some point.
Of course. That should not be a problem.
And tell your friend thank you for what he did.
Erwin pauses for a moment, appearing thoughtful, and then offers you a small, tired smile. I'm sure he'll appreciate that. Now, if you'll excuse me, I must see to it that the boys are undisturbed. I believe my brothers also require some updating. Do let me know if you require anything. My wife should return shortly.
Of course.
He makes his way down the ladder and vanishes out of sight, leaving the group of you alone for the moment. As this occurs, Lolison, Danica approaches you, places a hand on your shoulder. As you sit at the table in the tap room, the faint flickering lights just casting shadows along your face and Danica's long shadows stretching across the dark room. My dear, I'm sorry, I know that what you must have endured tonight is difficult, but we must get you upstairs. Please, let me give you a hand.
After a moment, Lillison just nods, stands up, still holding whatever it was that she was eating in one hand.
Come now, that's it. It's okay, you can take your time. And she takes her hand and gently guides you up the stairs and into the master bedroom before seeing you climb up the ladder to the attic. Shortly after Erwin departs, the rest of you see Lillison enter the attic, a bit of a neutral, shell-shocked expression on her face.
Oh, thank God.
And surprisingly, Lillison does not object or pull back at all when Danica is taking her hand. She emerges into where everybody else is, kind of looks around, still looking like she's only half comprehending what she's seeing. And then she is going to walk over into the corner where Metreon is sitting and sit down next to him.
Metreon, as you sit down, looks like he is in another world right now. He doesn't even react to you or anyone else who might be around him.
Yep. Lillison is going to just sort of absently put her hand on Metreon's shoulder and stare into the distance with much the same expression.
You hear Amity's nervous voice break the silence. So, what do we do? We killed Isaac. You punched the Baron. What are we doing?
Amity, I don't know what we're doing right now. I know this is stressful, but let's just take a moment and try to catch our breath, and then thankfully we have time now. We actually have time to sit and take stock of things. I think that's what we all need right now. And she's gonna cast a sort of worried look over at both Lillison and Metreon, who seem to be entirely in their own universes.
Earthendeer is going to nod. Yeah, Keith is right. When this, I've been in my fair share of attics like this. All you can do is try and sleep, try and distract yourself. We're not going to get anything done by worrying. Just take a minute.
You see Irina rubbing her wrists where you see parts of the rope had ruptured the skin raw. She glances worriedly over at Lillison and Metreon. What's wrong with them? Where was Lillison? Why is she like this?
They'd seen a lot tonight. A lot of death and violence.
What do you mean a lot of death? What happened? Where is Ismark?
There was an attack on the church. Strahd sent his forces and massacred almost everyone. The Father Lucian, he didn't make it. A lot of people didn't make it. Ismark is safe, though. He fought very bravely, and he's keeping track of some citizens, especially some younger ones who lost their parents.
That sounds like him. Thank the Morning Lord he's okay. Thank the Morning Lord. All of you are safe.
Forget us. Are you all right? You were in there for days.
I think he didn't hurt me. I'm fine. I'm going to be okay. She swallows. I'm just confused.
We all are, but we'll figure it out together. And we are so happy that you're okay.
She offers you a smile and sniffs again, swallowing. And I'm glad to see you're all safe. And as this occurs, you hear footsteps approaching from below. As you hear someone coming up the ladder, and as you do, you see Danica coming upstairs rather expertly, holding several mugs of what seem to be steaming mulled wine in one hand. She makes her way up, sets it down, begins handing them out. Please, each one of you, it should warm your spirits and steady your nerves. I think your friend, Mr. Ismark, should be here shortly. And as you do, you hear the sound of a door downstairs clicking open. Perfect timing. We'll send him right up, and we'll let you be here then. And she begins making her way downstairs with the empty tray.
All right, that's 7. That's everybody.
You hear heavier footfalls coming up the ladder, and as you do, you see his white blonde hair slightly muddied and splattered with bits of red where the blood hit him. Deep, sallow tiredness to his face. Parts of his tunic ripped and splattered with dirt or viscera. Looking exhausted, but determined, making his way up. You see Ismark. As soon as he sees Irina, his eyes light up, and he says, "By the gods, oh, thank the morning, Lord, you're safe. How did they? You?"
Kiva just backs up to give them room and goes sits in the far corner, sort of opposite of Metreon and Lillison.
He pulls Irene into a massive hug. I was so worried for you. He didn't hurt you, did he? Are you okay? I'll fucking kill him. Irina shakes her head. No, I'm all right. Please, and Kiva already took care of that for you. He blinks. Oh. Then it seems that we are once more in your debt. You hear the slight ticking of wood as below you see Erwin peering up, beginning to raise the ladder. Are you all well in there? If so, we're going to seal this for the night, though of course you can open it if you need to. Remember, 3 knocks.
Yeah, we'll be fine. Thank you.
He nods and continues raising the ladder. Ismark, still looking slightly stunned, helps pull it up the full way before closing the trapdoor behind it. And then you are alone in the dark of the attic. There is a few flickering candles set in the corners and toward the center that cast a dim amber glow that brings a bit of comfort to the space here. But in that moment, with Erwin and Danica gone from sight, you are, for now, alone.
Curiously, though Metreon politely took the mulled wine from Danica, it is just kind of sitting there in his lap, in his hands, just letting the steam sort of rise up. He's staring out towards you, Kiva, but you can tell that he's not staring at you. It's kind of staring beyond you.
Lillison...
Kiva just downs... Oh, go ahead.
Lillison still has one hand on Metreon's shoulder. She is every so often sipping from her cup, but similarly just kind of staring off into space.
Kiva just downs her entire glass of wine the second she gets it and is very pointedly looking anywhere but at Irina.
As she does, Ismark turns to Irina. You said that he didn't hurt you. What did he do? Why did he take you? Was he working for the devil? Irina blinks. I don't know. I don't even think so. It was so strange. He said that he knew me. I've never met him before. He took me to the manor. He took me to his room and just bound me there. When I saw what was inside, I was horrified. I was so scared of what he was going to do, but then he just left me on the bed and sat on the chair and just watched me for hours. He left only a few times, I think, but for the most part he just stayed there taking wine and not even sleeping. Or when he did sleep, I felt like he was already ready to awaken at any time. It still feels like he's looking at me. Ismark holds her tighter and just kind of clasps a hand on her shoulder. It's okay. It's okay. He turns toward the rest of you. What was in the room? What happened to him?
Erthrendir pulls up a hand and just kind of shakes his head at him, like, not tonight. Or actually, he'll look at her and mouth dolls. Ones of her. Dozens of them.
Ismark's face turns like a fucking stone, just unreadable for a moment. You hear Irina say, "It's just, I don't understand. He kept saying that he knew me. He kept saying that, I don't know, it was like this obsession. I didn't know where it came from. I didn't know who the hell he was. How did he know me?"
Metreon is unmoving. He kind of almost flinches a bit. And like he looks like he wants to say something comforting, but he's like trapped within his own body. But he kind of looks up over at Ismark and Irina and turns his head back down just as quickly.
Kiva's now, her hands are just in fists, and you can see just like tears silently streaming down her face, but she's not looking.
Erthrendir's just kind of surveying the room, his face just kind of stony. When he sees Kiva, he just kind of moves as if he's about to comfort her, and then just silently puts his handkerchief in her lap and withdraws.
Ismark takes a long, suffering sigh. All right. Well, you said he's dead, right?
As a doornail. Kiva saw to that.
Good. We should set up watches through the night. Make sure that no one and nothing gets in.
Ismark, if something gets through the Mardikovs, it doesn't matter. We're tired, and as much as I hate to say this, there is fuck all we can do. What you need and what we need is sleep. More than anything. If you want to do it, be my guest, but we'll all be better if we focus on making sure we see tomorrow without rubbing the last night out of our eyes.
Kiva
Yep.
takes Erthrindir's handkerchief and wipes her eyes and then just says, I can take first watch if you want.
You watch as his hands actually ball up into fists as he glances toward Erthrindir, almost glaring at him for a second. And then he settles back. Right, if you could take first watch, I can take the rest.
You are not taking a 4-hour shift. We'll take 4. I'll take one of them. And somebody else can take the last.
He pauses, and then you watch as the tension and some of the blood just drains from his face. He looks for a moment, just lost. Right. Okay. That makes sense. He licks his lips, just closing his eyes for a second, as if to shake a thought from his head. Right. That is a good idea. That's a good idea. With that, he turns toward Irina and begins speaking with her in hushed tones.
Erthrindir is going to sort of clasp his wine like Metrion's doing, more using it for warmth than anything else, but eventually he's going to turn towards the corner where him and Lillison are sitting and just kind of delicately step over there to join them. Hey, don't have to say much, but can both of y'all just talk to me for a minute? Just anything.
Lillison's gonna look up, just sort of very slowly turning her head towards Erthrindir. Move her hand off of Metrion, and then sort of like lean over into Metrion so that like their shoulders are touching. Shift her mug to the hand that was just touching Metrion, and then with her other hand, reach up and lightly touch Erthrindir's arm.
He looks taken aback for a moment, but then he just kind of holds that. Hey. He'll take her arm as well and just kind of stay there for a minute. It's going to be okay. Maybe not today, and maybe not for a long time, but it will.
I'm glad you all came back safely.
Me too. It's going to take more than a few vampires and a brute with the axe to tear the 5 of us apart after what we've been through. Not getting rid of me that easily.
Excellent choice of words as always, Randy.
Yeah. Point taken, Metrion. Glad to hear from you. He just kind of smiles and just kind of sits back with him for a while.
Lillison may be taking this opportunity to subtly have her, like, mostly already drunk mug of mulled wine sort of like inching a little closer to Metrion and seeing if he reacts at all.
No, he hasn't even touched his own wine. At this point, it's probably cooled down. But he is still looking sort of in Serena, in Kiva's direction. Is she still kind of like looking away from Ismark and Irina, or?
She's just looking down at her hand still and continuing to sort of cry. In that way that's very much like, I know I'm crying, and if one of you fucking talks about it, I'll kick your ass sort of way.
Angry tears, not sad tears.
Yeah.
Is she holding something?
Well, in one hand is just covered in sort of blood and guts, but she does still have the holy symbol in her hand.
She like, is it exposed, or is she kind of like concealing it?
She's not concealing it necessarily, but it is sort of in her hand, and she's gripping it very tightly.
Okay. Yes. Sorry, it's not more engaging, but we're all just kind of traumatized right now.
Shh. This is fine. Yeah.
Is there anything more you'd like to do, or are you looking to turn in for the night?
I think Earthrendeer is going to subtly encourage people going to bed. Like pulling out his own bedroll and laying it out and making a big show of fluffing his pillow, finding his own corner, getting comfortable, and then just directing quiet but pointed glances at the others.
Kiva sits up a little straighter and again very messily wipes her face again and gets ready to take that first watch. Did the Markovs have to leave any sort of like medical kit, or do we have something? Because she would start to just sort of like stitch herself up during that watch.
That for that there would probably be something that you have accessible to you that you would be able to use to address wounds.
Yeah, so she's just going to start stitching herself up then.
Yes.
DM, small question.
Of course.
I know it can't heal, but could my mending spell theoretically help with the stitching?
I would say probably not in this case. It does not do living flesh.
Got you. Thank you.
It creates living flesh briefly, but it does not do living flesh.
All right, that's all.
All right. With that, you watch as Ismark and Irina taking note of what you're all doing. Ismark begins taking some of the straw from the side of the wall and forging it into a bit of a rough mattress. They speak briefly for a moment, and then Irina falls onto the improvised bed and just falls asleep instantly. Ismark watches her for a few moments before lying down on the wooden floor and falling asleep himself.
Yeah, Metreon just kind of like stays upright. He lets everyone sort of unfurl their bedrolls or create their own kind of cots with hay and whatnot, or straw and whatnot. But he's just kind of like still kind of backed up against the wall.
So Lilson is gonna, finish her mulled wine slowly and a little mechanically. After it's finished, she brings the cup back up to her lips and looks faintly surprised that it's empty, and then sets it down, and puts her head on Metreon's shoulder. And after a moment, she says very quietly, "Metreon."
Yeah.
Am I hurting you?
No. I don't know what you're doing now. What is this?
I couldn't hurt them. I went after them with Kiva. And I couldn't do anything. I couldn't hurt them.
Well, they like him then, didn't they?
What?
They like him. Whatever you attacked you and whatever was, they like them. They like him. He can't be hurt. He can't be hurt.
Metreon, I've been hurting people all my life. Just by existing. Just by being around them. And I can't do that anymore.
Seems like the wrong time to make that choice, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Metreon kind of like adjusts himself and pulls himself, not necessarily away from Lillison, but kind of almost as if she's not there. Just sort of adjusts himself against the back of the room in the corner. He's not like forcing her away from him, but he's just kind of repositioning himself.
Yeah, she kind of goes along with it, and then goes, "Your shoulder is very bony."
Yeah. What was it like? You said you killed before. What was it like?
I didn't understand what I was doing the first time. My brothers and I, we were raised when we were very, very young to sneak, to steal, to slip things into people's drinks. We knew how to handle a blade, and I didn't understand.
Who was it?
Someone I barely remember. I loved her so much, and I didn't understand why she never came back.
Love's funny like that, isn't it? I'm at dawn. I'm going to Devastani.
She just nods. Are you wanting to go alone?
I'm not going to force anyone to come with me. I'm not going to force anyone to not come with me. We can't beat him. We can't beat him here like this. If we have an out, we gotta go. if we want, we can bring Arena Ismark with us. They can come wherever we go, but I'm not staying here anymore.
Oh. Okay.
You can probably tell, like, you're pretty perceptive, I imagine. So you can kind of start to see as he's talking about leaving, a little bit more of emotion starts to kind of crack through. But he's doing his best to contain everything. You should get some rest.
You're sure I'm not hurting you?
Not yet.
Okay.
Hey.
Yeah.
You came close to dying once, yeah?
I think...
What was it like?
It was very dark and very cold. And I forgot to mention up until now, Lilson's skin is freezing cold. And I didn't expect to wake up. I don't know why that thing in that basement didn't just eat me. It's a lot of being afraid.
DM, can I go ahead and figure out if I think that she's telling the truth right now?
By all means. If Lillison is lying, you can send me a private GM roll.
And that's a 10 on the inside check.
I will send a private GM roll, although I think that everything she's saying right now is factual as far as it goes.
All right. She seems to be forthright and seems to be honest.
Did you feel different when you came to?
Yeah. I felt like I didn't know why I was still here. I still don't know why I'm still here. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it was him wanting us to not die before he could have his fun.
I'm sure we're a barrel of monkeys. I almost died tonight. I felt cold too. I still kind of feel it.
Are you sorry you didn't?
Metron just kind of like sucks on his tongue a bit. You can see like one of the forks of his tongue is sort of like pinned beneath his golden fang. And he doesn't answer, but he looks like he's struggling to figure that out.
After a few moments, Lillison is going to add, I'm glad you didn't.
Better them than me, right?
Yeah, I guess.
I guess whatever Morning Lord is left here didn't have any much need for. And at that point, you see him start to tremble a bit, and stops himself from saying anymore.
Lillison's eyes sort of move towards his face. She isn't really moving her head that much, but she looks at him for a little while, and then she readjusts where her head is on his shoulder, and then closes her eyes.
Why are you doing this?
If I do start hurting you, just shove me off of yourself.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this touching, this questioning. What is this?
If I start hurting you, shove me off of yourself, and then I'll know I'm back to normal.
Why is that your normal then?
I don't know. I don't know.
Patreon kind of relaxes a bit and just lets her head rest on him. And he's still just kind of looking over at Kiva.
Once she feels like everyone is sort of sufficiently tucked in for the night, Kiva will stand and do like a sort of silent pace around the room. And when she gets to Metreon, she's just going to hold out the symbol. She's not looking at him, but she'll hold out the symbol and wait for him to take it.
Metreon looks up and sees where she's at, and looks down at her hand and sees the symbol, and sees the blood on it, and takes a moment to process that it's real and that it's there. But he'll very carefully reach up and he'll hold his hand there for a minute near Kiva's hand before very gently taking it out away from her. And as he brings it down he kind of like brings it over and kind of cups it under his chest, over the now cool cup of mulled wine. And Lillison, you'd be able to suddenly feel this quaking in his body as he begins to completely break down.
After a few moments, Lillison will move her arm to gently pat him on the back.
I'd say at this point, everyone else can probably hear him weeping.
Yeah. Earthrendeer who's been kind of lying immobile for the past hour or so, is just kind of sits upward, which, from what you get the sense, he was not actually trancing. Just looks over at the two of you. And he looks like he's about to go over there to kind of do what he usually does, pug or intrude or whatever. But he just kind of grabs the blanket off of himself and pulls it over Lillison and Metreon. There, it's a cold night. Just he kind of Sleep well, all right? There's going to be a morning. And he'll go back to his spot.
So for the rest of her, just like watch, she's gonna let Ismark get a little more sleep, but when it's time to wake him up for her turn, she's going to hesitate over Irina and almost look like she just wants to like touch her and just make sure that she's there. And but then instead she'll just go and wake Ismark.
As she's going to, Berthrandir kind of quietly holds up a hand. Hey, would you mind letting me take his? He needs his sleep.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
She just sort of sits down and faces the wall and starts her chants.
He sits down near her. Hey, before you go, do you have a minute?
Yeah, I got all the time. What's up?
He kind of looks like he's struggling to figure out what he's going to say. Look. Maybe this would be more appropriate in the morning. Maybe this would be... I don't know. I don't care. But You nearly got us all killed tonight.
Kiva just nods. She doesn't say anything.
I don't... Can you...
Look,
What?
if you have something to say to me, I know you're angry. Just say it. I don't need you to soften it up, okay?
He looks at her a bit askance and then just nods. Fine. Why'd you ignore me?
I know you don't trust me, and I don't really trust you. So I didn't bother to explain myself to you because I knew there wouldn't be a point. I can say to you that I did not intend for things to happen the way they did. I didn't want to hurt him. It might just be what I am.
Oh, go to hell with that.
Look, you are a lot smarter than I am.
Also wrong, but continue.
I didn't think that I was ever going to care about another human being again after my daughter died. And then I met Irina, and I don't know what happened. Something changed. And I understand that I am not the type of person who gets a second chance anymore. She's made that very clear. But I will not stop fighting for her. This was horrible tonight. It was horrible. But it's done. And I understand if you don't trust me even more. I'd welcome it because it'd be honesty. I don't need you to pretend to like me.
Kiva.
But you need to understand why I did it.
Kiva. He's, like, looking full at her now. That's not what I was going to say. Kiva, I'm glad you did what you did in that situation. I feel sick about this, but I'm glad Isaac's dead. I saw that room. With the kind of things that he might have been dreaming about, I would have him killed 1,000 times before we walk by that house tonight. And I don't blame you for doing what you did with the Baron either. He said the same things to you that he said to me. And if I had had the luxury, and if I hadn't been convinced that I was on a stealth mission and the only way I was going to get anything done to save Irina was by being quiet, I would have put a sword through his throat. I'm not mad at you for that. You did the right thing. And when from the moment you opened that door, I don't blame you for any of it. Not a thing. Do you understand that?
She nods.
What I need to say, and what I need, my question is that it's not about, I ran after you because I didn't know what you were going to do, and I wanted you to make sure you knew that he was a sick bastard who hated what he couldn't understand, and I'm not angry you did what you did. I just wish you would have listened to me.
I wish I did too.
He smiles. Like, I know this may be hard to believe, Kiva Sirle, but I care about you a lot. Like, I'm surprised too. Like, I'm gonna be honest, if we met in Neverwinter passing by the street, I don't think we'd get along. But you're brilliant, and you have just such an impetuous passion for the shit that if you weren't here, none of us would still be here. Period. He's like, you can see tears beginning to bead at his eyes. But he looks down. Kiva, do you know how bardic magic works?
She, for a moment, looks very frightened. And then says, I have some familiarity.
Yeah. It's the magic system of bastards, isn't it? It is all around influencing other people. You heal, you inspire, you degrade, you defend. And so, when you ran off tonight to go tell the Baron what was going on, I had to run after you. I had to convince Amity and Metreon to come with me because I didn't know where you were going, and I wanted to make sure that he's kind of... I know you didn't ask for us, for all of us to be there and to... But, Kiva, I can't just follow you if you're gonna do stuff like this. I won't. But at the same time, I love you and I care about you a lot, and I don't want you to fucking die. And so when you just go to not a consultation, not a word. You're going to do what you think is right. Then I have to, because my magic doesn't work on any way else. I'm not a wizard. I can't conjure fireballs or burst Irene out of there with a spell of my own. I am only effective when I am helping other people. So, if you're gonna go and do this stuff, then I have to follow. I don't have a choice. But he's just kind of petting his hands now. I don't want you to die, and I know you don't trust me, and you probably don't like me, but I also am not... I'm not going to follow somebody around who doesn't want me again. I've had my share of that, okay?
I'm learning how to want people again. She's teaching me. I can't promise you that I won't die here, because I don't think any of us can do that, but I can promise you that I will try my hardest to stay alive.
That's not what I want. I mean, it is what I want, but just...
Look, what I'm trying to say is that I understand, and I'm sorry. And I don't know how to be part of a group. I don't know how to be part of a family. I don't know how to do any of this. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for patience. I'm trying. I am. I know it doesn't seem like it. Just give me time to try. I want to be worthy of all of you, of the sacrifices that you've made too. It's just going to take longer for me. If you can't give me that, then I understand, but that's all I can say.
Earthendeer's voice is muffled. Can I have my handkerchief back for a minute?
Yeah, she'll hand you the handkerchief, and she's gonna let that touch linger too for a moment.
He raises it to wipe his eyes before he realizes what she's doing, and he just looks at her. Thank you. I believe it or not, I kind of get it about not knowing how to be part of things anymore. I thought I couldn't until I met y'all. But I know. Thank you. Thank you. And for the record, I don't hate you. You know that, right? There are a lot of things to hate in Barovia, but you are not one of them.
Yeah, that means a lot. I used to think my anger and everything was this curse that I'd been given, this punishment for my mother's death, leaving the Feywild, whatever. I'm learning how to use it, though, to be something more. And I know, even if I don't know how to work with other people, I know what I believe in. And I don't want to see another person go through what I did. I want to stop him. And I want to help these people. Because I couldn't help Ava. And I couldn't help my dad. And even if she doesn't want me, even if this place doesn't want me, I'm going to help it. And I don't know, I suppose I should feel worse about everything that happened, but I feel different, resolved in a way that I never have before. Stronger. I don't know, it's probably stupid.
He shakes his head. No. Not at all. There's... He actually smiles. You know, there's... Anyone who ever tells you that going through bad things is going to make you stronger is a liar. It certainly hasn't helped me, but sometimes it does kind of remind you what matters. And he casts a glance over at the others. So yeah. No, I'm with you. I think there's no hiding anymore, is there? It's not going to matter.
How is Erthrindir looking as far as, like, health goes?
He's physically fine. Emotionally, there's a deep tiredness in his eyes, like even more than usual.
If he'll let her, she's just going to sort of raise her hands like she wants to touch his face.
He almost flinches. Are you touching the side with the scar?
She's not touching him yet. She's sort of like non-verbally asking for permission.
He looks at her. And you see something inscrutable in his eyes, and then he just nods.
She's very, very carefully going to touch his face and lean in. And Erthrindir, you'd feel this very, very warm and just sort of like heavenly peace. And she's going to use her lay on hands and give you 5 of her hit points.
Holy shit!
All right.
We got a paladin, boys. All right, that's a him.
You
All right.
watch as there is a small glow of warm golden light from Kiva's palm. You watch as curling around her fingers, almost born from the light, you see small vines and tendrils, not like claws or grasping roots, but of lush and light that then gently brush against your face, and where they do, they burst and bloom with small golden violet petals. You feel a sense of warmth, of light and healing enter into your skin, and when she pulls her hand away, you see a small cut on your arm that had been left from the earlier events is now completely healed, with not a mark remaining.
He looks down at it, like, almost disbelievingly. Well, you're a woman of many surprises.
Like I said, I think she's making me better. And she's finally going to look over at Irina and just watch her sleep.
He nods. My dad always says that you can be in that, people can start making you better. They can give you the place in the room and maybe an impetuous, but the hard part's on you. Always will be. So I think maybe she just gave you a reason to try. I know you all gave me one. I didn't know how I was gonna keep going if another 20, 50 years of what I was going back to.
You are a very valuable asset to have in this horrible place, and I'm hoping one day a very valuable friend.
I can be an asset for now. And I'd like that as well. Look at us. I've been lecturing everybody about the value of getting sleep to treat shock, and now I'm yammering on. Here, you get some rest.
Kiva nods and actually goes and moves her position. And she's going to lay closer to Metreon and Lillison in the little cuddle puddle, but her head is going to be facing Irina. And scene.
Yep.
Very good. With that, Kiva, you turn in to your own corner of the attic and trancing if you should wish it Earthrendir trancing if you should wish it as Kiva resumes her watch.
Other way around.
Vice versa, yeah.
Okay, so Kiva is on watch. No.
Earthrendir's on watch, Kiva's trancing.
There we go. Okay. All right. Perfect. Way to keep the moment going. So, with that, as the attic slowly settles into silence once more, I will need Earthrendir to make a perception check during his 4-hour watch.
Oh, great.
DM, I would also say that Metreon hasn't gone to sleep yet.
Okay.
I don't know if mechanically that does anything, but just as a
Not
heads
at the
up.
moment, no.
That is an 18.
All right. Around 20 minutes into your watch, you hear the faint fluttering of wings from the south side of the room, and as you glance in that direction, you can just faintly see the dark silhouette of a small black bat hanging upside down in the opening of the southern window.
Earthrendir looks at it for a look of mild disgust. And then his gaze hardens. And he reaches into his holster and pulls out his wand. Go to hell. And if he can do this, he is going to start the beginning of a firebolt blossoming at the end of his wand.
All right. As soon as it sees you pull out the wand toward it, the bat chitters quietly and flutters out of the small opening, vanishing from sight.
What are you doing?
Oh, you're awake. Sorry, there was a bat. I don't trust him. Don't worry. He's gone. A little bit of fire will do that. You can go back to sleep.
Okay, I can't sleep. And you see that like Metreon is like squirming. He's probably Lillison starts to feel it too, but he's like almost like he's got this massive stomach ache, or he needs to use the restroom, and he just has to get out of here. But he's writhing at this point.
Hey, you're gonna wake him up. Hey, come on, just come sit with me?
No, we can't stay here. We gotta go. We've got to go.
Metreon, we can wait another 4 hours. After that, I'm with you, but you gotta rest. You look like shit.
He just kind of gives you this pathetic, pleading look. It just completely helpless at this point, and he's still kind of squirming, but he's trying to calm down.
Hey, is anything I can do to take your mind off things? I think I've still got my cup of wine and a pretty good storyteller.
You see that he kind of pauses for a moment, stops squirming, and hardens up a bit more as you say that. No, I'm gonna be fine. We just have to stay tonight here, right?
Yeah. Then tomorrow we can get the hell out of this town.
All right. Good looking out, then.
Yeah.
I'll be all right.
I'd be surprised if you would. I don't think any of us are.
Kind of shoots this glance up at you. Very pointed. And then looks back down.
Fine. It's none of my business. Sleep well, Metreon.
At this point, you hear from the small opening that leads outside a faint, chittering squeak of pain that is then abruptly silenced.
Why do you do that?
That wasn't me.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about sleep well. What does that mean?
Berthrandir opens his mouth and just kind of... Oh, fuck it. Because I don't want you to... Look, if we're having fucking... I want you to sleep well. I like you. I care about you. And we have all been through the worst shit of our lives in the past week. I want you to, be as okay as you can be. It is not that complicated. You're my friend. I mean, kind of. I think you don't think of me as such, but I like you, man. And I'd rather you have as pleasant a time in this frozen, mist-swept hell as possible. It's really that simple.
Metreon looks genuinely confused, trying to process everything that you're saying to him, and glances around the room, sees that Kiva is trancing, sees that Amity is cuddled up with Truffle, looks over to his shoulder and sees that Lillison is probably still there, unless she's not. Looks back at you. We don't know each other. We can't just be friends. It don't work like that. We've only been here, a week? Week from hell, but still just a week.
All right.
None of us know each other. None of us.
No, that's a fair point. In that case, where would you like to moderate our relationship? Reluctant co-workers? That one elf you see at the end of the street but have to tolerate? Where are you laying the bar, Metreon?
Listen, all I'm saying is... He looks over at Lillison. I'm gonna go to Vistani tomorrow. And if there's any way they can get me out of here, I'm taking it.
Oh. Well, splendid. You and I have the same plan then. Tell you what, let's talk the group in the morning. I've got something I've wanted to do, and I think that may intersect with your plan pretty nicely.
Yeah.
All right. Go back to sleep, Mr. Coworker Mr. Reluctant traveling companion.
Yeah. And Metreon kind of squirms back into place, but doesn't go back to sleep because he wasn't actually asleep in the first place. But just sort of keeps staring down at the holy symbol in his hand and occasionally looking over at Ismark and Kiva and Amity.
All right. Is there anything more Earthrendir would like to do during his watch?
Not really.
All right. With that, the remainder of your 4-hour watch comes to an end. Metron, are you going to sleep?
Huh. So is there some way, I don't know, just because I like chaos, is there some way I could maybe like make a constitution saving throw to see if I exhaust myself or if I'm too wired?
You're welcome to do so.
Sorry, I love this kind of shit.
I respect it.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and roll a constitution saving throw.
I'm feeling it too.
Nice.
Well done.
All right, what'd you get?
I got a nice 4.
A natural
All right.
too.
I presume that means that Metron feels the heaviness of sleep fall over his eyelids.
Yes.
All right. With that, as Earthrendir brings his watch further to an end, moving to rouse Kiva for her own watch, Metron slipping away into the darkness as his companions keep sight the area around them. Metreon's sight slowly fades into dark. And as it does, there's a soft chill to the air, a faint swirling of shadow beyond his eyelids. And when he opens his eyes again, he stands alone in a dark, endless emptiness upon a simple black stone platform. And then he's not alone. A familiar, dark cloaked figure facing across from him upon the platform. And that is where we'll end it for here and take our break.
Great.
Oh boy.
I am so sorry that you're going to get chewed out, Metreon.
These things happen. It's Skelly. How can you hate that though?
Hey boyo.
Yeah. Can you just Skelly voice?
That was
Okay,
my
skeletons aren't
Skelly
real.
impression. You're welcome.
No, that was great.
Yes.
This is now a Hades stream.
Yes.
You're saying it hasn't
Yes!
been already?
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, we will pick back up after our 15-minute break. In the meantime, do enjoy some messages from our D&D community. This week we'll be featuring a fireside chat between our producer Shiplukas and No Fun Allowed, a creator of community guides and resources for official 5th edition D&D modules, in which he'll be discussing the use of humor in your Curse of Strahd campaign. So please do enjoy, and we will all see you back here soon.
Welcome to Fireside Chat, a short interlude with weekly features where I, your host Job Lucas, will be showcasing and interviewing prominent D&D creators. This week, we are talking to No Fun Allowed, the creator of various YouTube guides on running D&D modules, about player expectations and using humor to enhance your campaigns. What expectations and tropes does the Curse of Strahd module set up for DMs and players?
Yeah, so in regards of expectations, we have the PCs can walk into town and solve any issue without a shadow of a doubt. We have Destiny giving them all the answers, and they can go ahead and find all the puzzle pieces to save the day. And we get the idea that people will always come out stronger than once they first arrive. In regards of tropes, we have the damsel in distress, Irina, who is being assaulted by Strahd. We have the 3 old women at the windmill, who are totally not hags, but are of course hags. We have the vampire in the looming castle. We have the peaceful town that isn't so peaceful. Think of Ba Sing Se.
What value do they offer?
We have all of these tropes and expectations in the game, but the value that they offer is that they provide a basis for us. The fact that your players immediately can recognize the situation, and they will have a ground understanding of what's going on. A lot of these tropes and expectations that they find themselves in are things that they've already read or watched or listened to, and living out these expectations and tropes that they've seen before can certainly be cathartic in a sense.
Which of these expectations should the DM keep, which are worth subverting?
I certainly think that there is some expectations that should be kept present in these campaigns. Your players should get more powerful over time, but the question is do they stay powerful and sane, or do they slowly get corrupted by the darkness all around them? That's really up to the campaign individually. And in regards to subverting some of these expectations, it really does come down to the players that you have. If you have a group of players that consumes a lot of media and they can see the red flags long before they're even present, then you do need to go ahead and change things up for the better or potentially for the worse. If you're running a brand new group of players through this module and they don't read any of those old fairy tales, then having those 3 women at the windmill be hags that cook up children can certainly be scary. But I'm willing to bet that most people nowadays do recognize some of these tropes. If they see 3 old women that live by themselves in the middle of a dangerous world, they're going to automatically assume that they're hags. So that is something that you should take a look at. There's a reason why these fairy tales are so popular even to this day. It's because people like the fresh twist on old tales. So I think it's important that when you're running this module, if they see something that they've seen that's similar, that it's either so different than what they've already seen before that it's unique and fresh, or it is so close to the same thing that they've seen before that they don't even see it coming because it's so blatantly obvious. Why would they be going through the same thing? The biggest expectation and trope of this whole module that is definitely worth subverting is the damsel in distress. In a lot of campaigns, groups see Irina as more of an object that they have to protect than a person that they should be interacting with more. The idea that Strahd is after this one individual and your players don't understand why for a decent amount of the campaign certainly makes the whole quest line awkward. Myself and many DMs have sat down and reworked the whole Irina subplot of this whole campaign. At some point this might have been the norm, but today is just old, it's tired, it's played out, and it doesn't gel well with today's society. We want something more concrete, we want it to feel more real, and we want it to be more impactful and powerful in our campaigns. Your players just so happen to show up at the right place at the right time, and now they have to protect someone who realistically would never be able to be protected because Strahd can do whatever the frick he wants. It really doesn't sit well, and if you run Strahd as a guy that just goes ahead and kidnaps her whenever he wants, then that just feels bad because your players couldn't really do anything about it. And this also makes Irina look weak, and we don't want that anymore. That's just not what we do these days. Make her awesome, make her a badass, and make her fit into the party. Changing up Strahd's motivations, changing up Irina's expectations of the world around her, and how that influences wherever they go and what they do, should certainly be something to be taken into consideration.
Why is humor important in a horror campaign? How can you use it appropriately?
Humor is a big deal because, at the end of the day, we play these role-playing games to have fun. And unfortunately, with the expectation of horror, there is only so much you can do with it. There's only so much you can do to beat up on your players, to make them feel helpless, to make them feel like they can't change anything around them. And after a certain amount of time, that just grows stale, and it doesn't lead to anything specific. Giving people rays of hope in a sea of darkness allows for the moments of brightness to shine, and allows for the dark to truly be despairing. More often than not, most groups are going to be cracking jokes alongside the adventure anyway, so having it be done in-game, in-character, can be a lot more telling of the world around them than just having that all out of character. Adding comedy to this campaign would not be a stretch at all. It would seem reasonable that there would be a lot of things that happen right in front of the players' faces that are just hysterical. Commoners over-exaggerating about how horrible their lives are would happen all the time. People would be annoyed about the situation, and they might shout expletives out in the middle of nowhere, and that will just add some nice relief. Bad guys bumbling around in the middle of combat, maybe tripping on their own capes, getting their nice clothes all dirty, falling face first into the mud. Those things fit into the world so well because the land of Barovia is a dirty place, and presumably there's a lot of rain going on, so it makes sense people will be tripping and falling all the time. And having the environment tell a funny story can certainly liven the place up a bit. If your players pass by some tombstones and they see that one person is buried right next to their mistress, you know, people are going to get a chuckle out of that. And they see another tombstone and the person buried only has a single line that says, hates ravens, and there's a raven pooping on the tombstone. That's going to at least draw something out of your players. Those fun times are going to make the darker times burn even darker than before, I promise you.
How have you personally subverted expectations in your Strahd campaign? What made it worth, and what would you do differently?
Changes I've made to the campaign include major ones such as changing the hags of the Coven to be simply humans that bake pies and nothing more. They simply help out some kids, and that's the end of story. No kids getting cooked up. Whenever the women do take a kid for payment, they simply have them work at the windmill and away from a terrible parent that would be willing to sell their kid for some pie. I make all of the vampire spawn previous adventures from around the lands. That makes them feel a lot more personable. It allows your players to interact with some portion of the world that isn't just locked away in Barovia for all of its life. And that makes it all the much more sadder because your players will be going up against these vampire spawn and thinking to themselves, hey, that could be us if we're not careful. And something I do, I regularly invite my players to Castle Ravenloft. Every few sessions, in fact, they get invited to Castle Ravenloft for dinner, where they can go ahead and talk to a whole bunch of NPCs and explore around the castle. This makes Castle Ravenloft feel like a home away from home, and it allows the villains to be a lot more personable, and it makes it all that much sweeter when things finally come to a blow and the whole thing explodes. I make these changes because I feel like it makes the world feel a lot more romanticized. It allows your players to interact with the world like they normally wouldn't. I like the idea of reoccurring villains, and the best way to have a reoccurring villain is to introduce them early on before your players even have a chance to smite them, and then later on, oh so long down the road, they finally get to combat them, and then it's going to be a bittersweet moment of someone that they've been interacting with for so long is finally dead. And what I would do differently is not have all the villains be truly villainous. Yes, have Strahd be a monster, because he is the big bad and he is the one your players are going to have to face. But make some of those underlings, some of the cast of Castle Ravenloft, not as hardcore, not as evil, and that is going to make your players question, should they fight them, yes or no. I feel like if your players think that they have a chance, that they can go ahead and try and turn these people back to good, back to light, and maybe even oppose Strahd, will add a lot more dynamics to the social and the combat encounters that are in the campaign.
What are you currently working on, and where can people find it?
You can find me on YouTube. My channel name is No Fun Allowed. I do module reviews, and I am slowly working my way through the entire catalog of all the 5e modules, currently doing Curse of Strahd right now. And in addition to that, I also do some voice acting lines for certain villains that you love to hate, And I'll be coming out with my own guides on what you can add to this delightful campaign.
If you think your hometown has problems, you haven't spent nearly enough time in the village of Barovia. Over the years, their taste for human flesh had only grown. The vampire spawn, the undead cult, the werewolf den. I just think we can do a little better here. Grab our shovels and we're gonna add some depth to help you run your best Curse of Strahd. Strahd possible. You're welcome. He flies into a fit of rage that is unparalleled. There's child abuse galore through this thing. He's been nailed to the wall with very long iron spikes, and I imagine it's been a very uncomfortable time for him.
You see, in tracking a monster, one always needs proper bait.
My friends, it is I, Count Strahd von Zarovich, and I bid thee listen. The Guild of the Black Crow have produced over 5 hours of ambient sound design for my most beautiful and ancient land. As used by Twice Bitten, these ambient backgrounds include my most private and intimate of letters, as well as bonus tracks not found in the Dungeon Master's Handbook. So, hear me now. I guarantee you safe passage to their camp. Support them, and perhaps we shall meet sooner than you think.
Welcome back, everyone, to Curse of Strahd, Twice Bitten. Before we get started, as always, we have a few quick announcements. As always, a very happy shout out to our continuing virtual tabletop sponsor for this campaign, Foundry VTT. They're doing excellent stuff, and it looks like they've got some cool updates coming up in the future, so highly encourage you to check them on out. Secondly, a quick note that I forgot to mention at the end of last session. As you might have guessed from Kiva's heart-to-heart with Earthrendir, as of last session, the party has advanced to level 5. So, a round of applause and kudos for everyone.
We did it, girl. We did it.
Woohoo! We're the
Wait,
best.
did we get a long rest though?
I think that's what we just did, yes.
You're working on it.
Don't you dare.
Maybe I shouldn't have asked.
Maybe.
Right.
An additional note for anyone who is a Curse of Strahd DM. Right now, if you're watching this live, there is an AMA going on r/Curse of Strahd with Assiduous, one of the Curse of Strahd subreddit and Discord moderators, and the author of the Interactive Tome of Strahd. Really fantastic content creator. Highly encourage you guys to check out his AMA while it's up. It should be starting, I think, around 3 p.m. Eastern on January 16th, which, as of this moment, is today. So definitely go check that out at reddit.com/r/Curse of Strahd if you're interested in learning more from one of the subreddit community's top content creators. So I think that's all I've got. Twy, how about you?
Hey, lovely people. If you enjoy Feelings Gems in real time, then subscribe to r/Curse of Strahd. We are gonna be here as we make our way through the vampire's country hell. And we're now at level 5, which means he can actually start trying to hurt us. So come on in, subscribe. We have cool emotes, we have neat jams, and if you've got Amazon, then you probably have a Twitch Prime sub sitting around. Do it. You know you want to. And with that being said, that is all I have.
All right, thank you, Twy. Serena, what's the roundup?
If you are feeling the feelings that we are all feeling, you can join the discussion on our very own subreddit, reddit.com/r/TwiceBittenDND, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/c/rCurseofStrahd, for past sessions, fireside chats, video essays, and highlights from the stream.
All right, beautiful. Thank you very much, Serena. And I think that's all we've got for today. So thank you, everyone, for sticking around. And with that, I think we're ready to get back into the episode. So without further ado, let's dive right back in. Metreon, as you find yourself standing once more in this dark, empty space, you can see the faint gray light illuminating the stone platform upon which you stand that soon vanishes into darkness, perhaps no more than 10 feet in any radial direction. Across the way, you see the familiar dark-robed figure, the cowl shadowing its face. As you do, you watch as its cowl tilts slightly, as if regarding you for a moment, before saying, "So, would I be right in my presumption that you might have information to share? Hmm?"
Yeah, I mean, I think she said that she said it was cold and that it was dark. She didn't say that. And you see that he's like struggling to gather his words and his information, as if this was a surprise meeting he had and he was not prepared for it. And he just kind of looks around helplessly at the darkness surrounding. I don't know what else you want from me, though. That's all that she said. That's all that she said.
What are your observations of her? Is she as she was before the separation?
I mean, I didn't really know her before that all that well. I mean, I just knew her a day, but she's letting people touch her, and she's touching other people, and she's really cold. Not just like emotionally, but like physically. Like whenever she's next to me, I feel like I don't know. I feel like I'm next to a freezer or something like that.
Or perhaps beside a corpse.
What are you saying?
The sensation you describe, the clamminess of the flesh, it is emblematic, I have found. She has been touched by something, it would seem. I am pleased. Yes?
Wait, are you saying that she's... Are you saying that she's dead?
There are many things that should be dead yet live, boy.
Oh my. Wait, no, something's happened to me too. I almost died too, and he looks down and because it's a dream, I don't know if the wounds on his chest would still be there, but he just looks down to see if they are. Not noticing.
These are wounds from which occasion?
Ezek.
Yes. You can see that they do appear to reflect your real life wounds. You can still see them there, kind of bloody and yeah.
Okay, yeah. So he gestures down to his wounded chest and looks back up at the hooded figure, and I almost died tonight too, but I didn't. I've been feeling these things all night. It's this cold going for me, and things was happening. I got angry and I saw him there, and I reached out and something grabbed his throat, but it didn't stick. It looked like it was made of ice. And when this happened, and he presses his chest, I went black, but then I felt like this cold rushed through me again, and I shot right back up, and I felt better, like I could run again, like I could move again, but I was still cold.
The spell resembled ice, you say?
It swell?
Interesting. It would seem that you are not yet fully aware. Perhaps that shall change. Boy, there are differences between those who have passed through the veil and those who linger at its side. I am surprised that you have not learned yet. But then again, for those of us that dwell at the twilight between life and death, there are many unique capabilities.
What did you do to me?
You wanted the means, the power to seek your escape. I provided a down payment. For this you have pleased me, and you shall be further rewarded, though I shall expect further inquisition into the girl. She has been touched by something, but I must know what. Of what source, of what intent, of what form. Do you understand?
What happens if I get that and I tell you? What then?
Then I shall consider the next stage of our arrangement. But if you please me, boy, as you have seen, I can unlock mysteries for you. You have sought long. I can feel it. The power to affect your own fate. Complete what I ask, and what you seek shall be given to you.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do. But He's so powerful. I can't stay here if he's just going to be here terrorizing me.
You're
Even
a
that
smart
ice thing that I
creature.
did, that ice thing that he did, that I did.
Silence. I will not tolerate sniveling in my presence. You have some intelligence to you and some means of power. Do not presume that I am here to solve your problems, boy. I provide you the tools, but if you allow weakness to guide your steps, I cannot promise what lies for you at the end of that road. Do you understand?
Metreon visibly takes a pause, drinking in everything that he's just said, and eventually, after a few moments, kind of keeping his gaze still averted, I'll get what you're saying.
Excellent. Then you have your orders. The forms. The promises, whatever it was that the girl saw when she passed the veil. Whatever it is that remains with her, I would know it. Uncover it. Find what she saw. And bring it to me. Until then, I believe you've earned a dreamless night's rest.
Thank you.
Into darkness, I release you, Punch. And from darkness, you shall awaken. And with that, you watch as the platform, the abyss, and the figure slowly recede, the shadows growing stronger and darker until you can scarce see a thing. And then you find yourself falling and falling, as promised, into a dreamless sleep.
Cool.
And with that, Kiva, I believe you were to begin your watch.
Let's
Did she
do
already
it.
take hers?
I have no idea.
So, if you
So-
wouldn't mind making a perception check for me during your watch.
That is a 15.
Thank you. Is there anything more you would like to do during this time?
She's... Man, it's, a lot has happened to her, in a very short amount of time. So she's going to be keeping a more, firm eye on the situation. She's trying to make sure that, like, truly everyone is just getting rest, but, she's also, taking some of the time to write down some of her feelings and sort of chronicle what's happened to her, because I think she's sort of still used to her rages blocking out memories, and she wants to make sure that she remembers very specifically what happened this evening.
Okay. With that, the hours pass as the darkness of night slowly turns as the gray light of day approaches. As dawn slowly comes to Vallaki, you hear the shifting of footsteps below in the room beneath your feet. You watch as your compatriots begin to rise, stirring from their slumber. Among them, Irina, who you see has been turning over and over again in her sleep throughout the night. And as your compatriots awaken, you watch as Irina pulls herself up out of the straw, turns away, facing the southern wall at the very end of the room, away from the group, hugging her knees to her chest, and just stares straight ahead. And with that, the rest of you awaken.
Metreon is slow to wake up, but he eventually does. But it seems like he doesn't want to not be sleeping. But his eyes kind of flutter open. He realizes he hasn't changed position since he last talked to Earthendir. Is Lillison still sleeping on his shoulder, or?
I'm sure she like slipped off of his shoulder at some point. I'm not sure in what position that leaves her though.
I was just more worried about because if he stands up, wants to make sure that if she's going to topple over, to at least put a jacket down or something. But he does want to kind of stand up. And you said there's a window in here, right?
It's a very small opening. It's not quite a proper window. It's perhaps a foot across and 2 feet tall.
Okay. Yeah, Metreon's going to very carefully stand up. If it seems like Lillison's going to, fall to the side or something like that, he'll reach over at first and kind of position her against the wall. But when he does, he kind of shudders, feeling that sort of cold aura that she casts. And then I want to go over and check through the opening to see A, what time of day it looks like, and B, if there's anything out there that I should be worried about.
All right, make a perception check.
My favorite. 13.
Glancing across the space before you, you see just the gray light of the Barovian morning. It seems still fairly early on in the day. As you've not seen the sun since entering Barovia, it's difficult to tell exactly when dawn is and is concluded, but it seems to you to be reasonably early in the morning. The streets are empty, bare even than what you've ordinarily seen. You can see a few people in the distance making their way, but they move with furtive, slightly terrified glances. Glancing off to the side of the rooftop around you, you do notice something a bit odd. What seems to be a small patch of a small reddish stain on the roof tiles just to the southeast of your window. Not very large, perhaps an inch or two, a few inches across. Beyond that, you see just a single black bird, a raven, standing atop the roof. As you meet its gaze, it turns toward you and lets out a quiet caw before fluttering its wings and turning back to its perch.
Yeah, Metreon watches the bird sort of flutter away, and seeing no one really on the street, there's no guards or anything, or that he can see or hear, right?
Nothing you can immediately see, no.
Okay, so he's gonna go ahead and walk over, and seeing that Irina seems to be the first person awake who wasn't trancing, we'll kind of go over to her and crouch down beside her. Hey.
The first thing you notice immediately is her hair is unkempt, her eyes have dark circles under them. She looks exhausted. She doesn't even react as you step beside her, just staring straight ahead.
You and me both. Listen, I'm gonna do what I can to get out of here. Not just Vallaki, but Barovia. I'm gonna go see the Vistani today, and if you want to come, you can come with me. But I'm not staying here any longer than I can, than I should. And if you want to come, if you want to get away from all this.
She just stares forward for a moment and then silently, almost imperceptibly, lowers her chin a half inch, just enough to indicate a nod, and then continues staring forward.
Right, yeah, cheers. And Metreon stands up and starts to walk away. But as he does, he realizes that he's been holding something in his hand, and he stops and pauses and looks down and realizes that he still has the bloody holy symbol in his hand. and kind of stands there frozen for a little bit as the others start to wake up.
Once Kiva's done, getting ready for the morning, she will look around the room. She notices Metreon sort of frozen and Irina staring off in the distance, and she's sort of torn very visibly that she's not sure where or who to go, or even if she should. But she does walk over to each of them in turn, and Metreon, she sort of pauses and like she wants to say something to him, and instead she just gives him like a nod and tries to communicate that she's there if he needs her.
Yeah, Metreon actually turns to you. Maybe when you look like you want to walk away. Thank you for giving us back.
I think he would want you to have it, and look, I know you didn't know him long, but he seemed important to you, and
I didn't know him long, and
I'm not going to pressure you.
No. It doesn't make sense to me either. I didn't know him long, but I don't know why I cared so much, and I don't know why he cared so much.
I can see why.
I got him killed. I got him killed.
No, you didn't.
If I hadn't been there.
Look, I can't tell you that it's not your fault because you won't believe me. Trust me, I know. She like laughs very darkly and then catches herself and looks like, fuck, I shouldn't have done that. What I am going to say is, and I tried this in that horrible house. If you need to talk about anything, or you need even for me to pretend to be a friend for a little while, Metreon, whatever you need, I'm here for you. I know what it's like to blame yourself for the death of someone you love, and I also know what it's like to come to care for someone very quickly and without reason. And then she clears her throat because she realizes that Irina could definitely hear her say that because she's right next to her. So just, you're not alone.
I know I'm not alone, and that's what scares me. He, not Father Lucian, but he said something to me. And I didn't pick up on it at first because I was scared shitless. But afterwards, I remember what he said to me. He said that it does get easier. I didn't say that to anybody else but you.
Not to give that monster any credit, but he's not wrong, unfortunately. I wish I could say something more comforting than that.
I didn't say that to anyone but you, and it was just you and me. He could hear me. And if he can hear me talking to you, he can hear me talking to anybody else. Oh, God. And Metreon slams his open other hand into his forehead as he remembers what he just said to Irina.
No. Stop. Kiva is gonna she's trying to do I hug him or what? I don't know. And she's just sort of locked up. But look, he is bound to get this information from anyone. We know that the only people we can really trust are the Martikovs. Look, I think he's very powerful, and that's not a fault of you. It's not anything you did. I don't know how he would be able to listen to you like that. Maybe he's just showboating to try to get under our skin and making educated guesses based on what he knows we would have to experience here. I don't think he can't be all powerful, though. There has to be something. I'm not saying we go fight him right now, obviously, but people with as much anger and hate as him, even they have a lot to lose. I don't know where I'm going with that.
I know you're feeling really gassed because you managed to get a blow on him, but not all of us are going to be so lucky.
No, that's not what I mean. Look, we have a couple of options about what to do next. I'm not entirely sure we need to stay. If we can find it, I think that should be our first goal, is to try to go. But if for some reason we're stuck here, truly, and there is no way out, I'm just saying, if I'm the only one that has hope, then that's fine, but I'll hold on to it, because I don't think he can just do this forever.
If you're sitting in constellation, I want him dead too.
One step at a time. We'll try to leave. If that doesn't work, we'll figure out where to go next and what to do from there.
At this, you hear footsteps behind you. And you hear Ismark's voice say, "If you don't mind my interruption, I think that where next is a good question to ask."
I told Irina what my plan was. I don't know what everybody else wants to do, but I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, actually. Earthrendeer sits up, rubbing his eyes. If we're talking about that now, then I've got a few thoughts as well. We should probably get everybody.
Metron goes over to Lillison and stands above her for a moment, just kind of looking at her and remembering what the dream entity said to him about her, before just kind of forcefully but not aggressively kicking the sole of her boot.
Good morning.
It's time to get up.
Yeah.
And Metron walks away.
So, if you do not mind my initiative, I would think that I would, of course, ask Irina, but we will be heading to the Abbey in Kresk. It is our best hope for some kind of safety.
Earthrendeer just shoots his head up. I don't think that's wise.
You see, you said that about Vallaki. You were wrong. No offense to you, love. I respect you immensely, but I think your take on this is piss poor.
That is not my judgment. It was Father Donowich's suggestion, and frankly, in lieu of a better option, I think if
the better option
else,
is get out of here.
That is escape is not possible. I am sorry. I have said this, but we must do what we can to keep our loved ones safe.
But have you tried?
How do you plan to escape?
Well, I was gonna go talk to the Vistoni camp. That's what, south of here. We could barter. We have services. We could do some magic. We could do whatever the fuck we need to get the fuck out of here.
And if that does not work, let us say that it does. Then I and Irina will be first behind you. If it does not, we need backup. We need something else that we can rely on, because I do not want to be here in Vallaki when... If they did it once, they can do it again.
Look, we've seen that holy places aren't exactly any benefit against him. He went inside that church. He tormented Metreon and I. He killed that priest. No offense, and I don't mean to startle anyone, but there's not a fucking thing that an abbey is going to do to protect you. Not here, not where he has control like this. Maybe we go to Crest because of the walls, and maybe we just try to hunker down, but I don't think you can find your solace in religion here.
Ismark's shoulders just slump. I just know that we can't stay in Vallaki.
No, we can't, and we're not gonna. Ismark, I held off on saying this, but I think you and Irina have one thing going for you. I don't know why, but I don't think he's interested in you right now.
What do you mean by that?
Think about...
He followed us here.
Not you. Not us. You. Think about the last few times we've met. First time, he barely talked to y'all when we met him on the road in the carriage. He was very focused on us. Yesterday, I don't know what happened inside the church, but outside, the Spawn were telling us that that we were the masters alone to hunt. And now I don't know that I'm not certain about that, but from the way he's acted thus far, I think you two may be a secondary priority right now while he plays with us.
Ismark winces. I did not think of it that way.
Oh, I'd be happy to be wrong, but I've been thinking for a long time. And he looks around at the others. The church didn't work. Vallaki didn't work. Hiding didn't work. Invisibility didn't work. Illusions didn't work. I don't think we can run. If we can get out of the country, then I'm all for it, Metreon, but after that, I don't think there's anywhere for us to go.
That's fair. Then fine. We go see the Vistoni, and if they can't help us, then we do what you say. We go to this abbey. We go to see if we could find some safety there.
Yeah, I'm all right.
Wait to die.
And actually, I have a bit of a selfish idea as well, if y'all are open to it.
What?
He takes a deep breath. I'd like to go swimming. If nothing we do matters, and if he can find us anywhere we go, and at the moment he's not particularly concerned with killing us, then I'd like to take advantage of that. I would like to do something for the first time in the last week that is not motivated out of fear or self-preservation. I remember there's a lake near here, and Ismark, I remember you saying that there was the Vistani camped out at a place called a pool or something out east. If we could do that, then I'd be I'd be really happy. I just need to feel the water again. Remind myself of that. I don't know.
You want to go for a swim?
He looks up. Yeah.
Kiva just starts laughing, and it's like a genuine, actually happy, not dark, fucked up laugh. For the first time, I think, since she's gotten here.
Earthendeer looks over a bit hurt. Hey, I know it's a bit ridiculous in our circumstance, but I don't think that's warranted.
No, it's it's perfect. Really, I don't know what I was expecting you to say, but wow. Swimming. Okay.
Yeah. I ought to have been born a sea elf, but I wasn't that lucky.
So wait, you said that there's another Vistani camp over there. Is that right?
I think so. Ismark, am I remembering that right? We passed it on the road, and you said that a something pool had them there.
I don't know anything about that. I've heard that there are Vistani outside of Vallaki, though. And I believe there is a lake to the north of town.
Huh. That'd work, too. Could be a nice 1-2 trip.
As long as we go see the Vistani, then I'm down to swim and frolic however much you want.
What do we have? Lillison says as she stands up fully. That will convince these Vistani to, and never mind even actually lead us out of here, but to convince them not to tell him that we're here.
I don't know. We look. I'll give him my rings. I'll give him my gold. I'll shag a few of him. I don't care. There's something we can do for them. I'm servant.
I'm not casting doubts on your plan. I just think we have to have a plan.
Maybe the Martikovs can give us something to barter. I've got some of the stuff I took from that horrible woman. We've got... I mean, you, Amity, you have magical abilities. I don't think they have that. Maybe they do, but I've seen you guys do some pretty horrifying things. So maybe that's of value. And yes, if it comes to it, Metreon can sleep with all of them.
I wouldn't, it
was see. A joke.
We'll see where you go.
It was a joke.
At least just the handsome ones. Come on, let's have some standards.
I'm a little fragile still, but I'm good in a pinch. That's all I'm saying.
Let's call that Plan B then. Plan A, we've got magic and gold to offer. Not much magic and not much gold, but that's a start.
Well, I think between all of us, we're good bullshitters. So, upsell.
Hacking up. Yeah, fair enough. And if it turns out they can't, then at least we can have a night somewhere reasonably safe. Probably.
Safe?
Reasonably.
At these words, you hear from the south side of the inn the sound of many approaching footsteps. Some of them marching in time with the others somewhat out of step.
Get down, now!
Wilson hits the floor.
Yeah, Metreon kind of presses himself up against the wall.
Fuck.
Kiva goes to stand in front of Irina.
Kiva, that's very noble, but right now I need you. Prone.
She's gonna crouch down as soon as she's there.
Fair enough. Why are we talking like this?
God.
Kiva,
very tentative.
given your proximity to the window, you hear as the bootsteps continue their way eastward, and then one by one begin turning. It sounds like they're turning north. A few moments later, you hear in the distance a loud knocking, as if someone is knocking at a door.
Search party. God damn it. We gotta get out of town.
A few seconds pass, then a few more. You hear in the distance muffled voices as you hear a door click open, though you cannot quite make out the words. Then you hear below you footsteps. One at first, and then several additional pairs making their way far below you in the tavern. It's a hubbub of activity that you can hear. You can hear somewhat raised voices, still somewhat muffled, at least from your current positions. You can hear many sets of boots making their way through the lower floors. You hear the clattering and then splintering of wood. Voices again. And then the sound of bootsteps echoing through the lower floors of the tavern. This goes on for perhaps 5-10 minutes, the sweat beating on the back of your neck and sliding down your forehead. After a brief time, you hear more footsteps coming up creaking, groaning stairs below you. You hear the door below you open. You hear muffled voices, but this time audible enough to make out the words. You can hear Erwin's familiar voice. Come now, my friend. This is where my wife and I sleep. Surely we can... If nothing else, you can at least exercise a bit of courtesy. We've done all you've asked thus far. Please. You hear a pause, then a gruff voice saying, Right. We'll be brief. Korga. Check the bedrooms. If they're hiding under a bed, I want to know about it. More footsteps. You hear what sounds like drawers being violently opened. You hear doors slamming open and shut. More and more footsteps below. You hear in the distance what sounds like Elvir saying, Hey, this is Alvin, what the hells are you? And then Danica's voicing, Elvir, it's all right. They're just going to take a look. And then her voice is too muffled again. Another few minutes pass. Slowly you hear the footsteps gathering and then receding down the stairs. You hear muffled conversation for another moment more. And then, in the distance, you hear a door click shut. And several sets of bootsteps making their way away from the inn outside. And then it is quiet.
Earthrendir's like visibly shaking, like his hand clasped over his mouth and his eyes wide, as he just looks at the others and then finally lets his hand fall. I think they're gone.
Let's wait until they come and get us, just to make sure.
Yeah, of course.
The fact that our hosts have a space like this should be telling us something.
Yeah, no, they're either smugglers, they hide people up here, they're in some sort of dirty business, and I for one am grateful for it. Stayed my share of these during the war. Never nice people, but they didn't have to be nice, they just had to be enough.
Littleson nods.
Another 15, 20 minutes pass. And then finally, after what feels like an eternity of waiting and sweating, you hear a faint knocking from below, and the trapdoor slides open. Glancing up from the bedroom beneath you, you see Danica Mardikov. As she hisses, "Are you all right up there?"
Yeah, I mean, what was that? Is they gone?
They're gone. They've been gone for a while now. It seems the Baron has sent out a search party looking for you.
Did they say anything?
It would seem that... She sighs and she moves to climb up the ladder. This should be a bit easier. She glances down. You see Erwin standing in the doorway below, kind of keeping an eye out. He gives her a nod and she turns back toward you. It would seem that the Baron is attempting a cover-up of sorts. The guards that came to our doors insist that there is a group of seditionist assailants who attempted to assassinate him last night before making their way to Saint Andral's church and wreaking havoc on the populace.
That son of a bitch.
I should have killed him.
From what I have heard, again, it's very early, but it does not seem that the guards themselves were particularly convinced. I believe that one of them, at least, was at the scene at the time. She seemed quite exhausted. But the Baron seems desperate. And whether the guards themselves believe him or not, it seems likely that for now, at least, they will carry out their duty.
Well, I'm not interested in clearing our name. I'm just interested in getting the fuck out of here. No offense.
No,
Danica,
none
you've been
taken.
great.
If you are looking to make your way out of town, I believe that we can offer certain arrangements.
That would be lovely. I was thinking we need to just make a run for the gates, but if there's anything you can do, then please.
We can. Adrian and Elvir, in fact, are planning on making their way out of town this morning. They were planning on swinging by the local Vistani camp to see if they could purchase a new horse. As such, they will be taking the wagon with them. We do have some extra straw in the stables. If you would like, we can attempt to conceal you within the wagon. They will not be taking barrels back with them.
Well, this is perfect then.
Yeah, that's pretty. 2 birds, 1 stone. Thank you.
Of course. I am glad to know that you are all unharmed. We will do our best to prepare some rations for the road. After they are able to, if they are able to purchase a horse, or even if not, Adrian and Elvira will be making their way back to the winery. Beyond that, beyond whatever you may do once you are able to leave Vallaki, I wish you well.
And you. Well, if we win, if we get the chance, then we're going to pay you back for this. This is...
There is no need. Please.
If you insist.
She smiles and nods to you, but Wilson and Kiva, you can tell that there's a bit of a tightness to her smile.
Would it
Kiva clocks it, but doesn't say anything.
would it be possible for you to pass along a note once we're gone?
That should be quite doable. A note to whom, if I might ask?
To the Lady Wachter.
Lady Wachter. Yes. And what might this message be? And you can tell that if she was smiling somewhat tensely before, she is looking strained now.
Lillison looks at her for a bit, then opens her pack, takes out one of her books, tears a page from it, takes a pen and writes on it very hurriedly just the words, "Your move, Tornsail."
God, I love her.
That's cool as fuck.
Drama.
Danica accepts the parchment gracefully and tucks it into one of the pockets of her dress. I can see to it that it is delivered post-haste, though you will forgive me if it is not immediate. The town is somewhat anxious at the moment.
That would be better, yes, if it is not immediate. Thank you so much.
But of course, I shall see to it that Erwin makes the necessary arrangements. We shall close the trapdoor for now, but do feel free to come downstairs once you are ready. I do not believe that the guards will return. But keep out of sight of the windows. They have been shuttered, but if you could make your way to the wine storage, that would be appreciated once you are ready. Without further response, she glances over the group, nods somewhat primly, and descends down the ladder once more, before pushing it up and sealing the trapdoor behind her.
After she goes, Metron looks up at Lillison. What'd you write there?
I just thought that she should know that we were responsible.
Why? It's what did you discuss with her at the luncheon that you had?
We discussed possibilities if we were to take out Isaac, which we have done. I expect she'll think that we'll still be around. I expect she'll be trying to find pretexts to have us conveniently killed afterwards. But as long as she is looking within Vallaki rather than outside it for us, that is good enough.
Good enough for me too. Shall we?
Yeah, let's get out of here. Had enough of this town.
And Metron doesn't really have much to gather except for like his satchel, but he'll actually go to an area where there's a little bit more light, maybe from the opening, and start to do his makeup.
Kiva just sort of packs up her bag very quickly and throws it over her shoulder, and then once she's together, she will go downstairs, leaving the attic.
Yep, same with Earthendeer.
When Metron is done, he'll motion over to Irina. Oh, you want to touch up? And he kind of gestures at her hair and holds out the black shoe polish.
She blinks, frowns, and then I think I'm good for now. Thank you, though.
Yeah, right. Well, here. And Metron stands up and extends his hand to, like, help her up.
She accepts it gracefully, and stepping up with a grateful nod. All right, I guess it's time to head out then.
It is. Let's go.
Let's go. And she and Ismark make their way down the ladder alongside you. Together, you head downstairs following, I believe it was Kiva who's been here before, down into the tap room, through the kitchen into the familiar wine storage. And as you pass through, you can see that one of the chairs in the tap room has been overturned, the wooden leg slightly twisted and splintered. You can see that several things have been like kind of pulled violently out of the backside of the bar. And as you head into the kitchen, you can see that cupboards and drawers have been kind of pulled out haphazardly. One drawer has kind of been pulled across the floor, and you can see some places on the floor where there are shattered bits of glass lying across the space by the rear door of the inn. As you do, you can see Erwin standing there, sweeping it up with a straw broom. Good morning. I see you're awake and well. Danica and my brothers are waiting for you by the cart.
Kiva offers a hand to Erwin to shake and to thank him for everything that he's done.
He accepts it. It will be, Vallaki will be a bit quieter with you lot not here, but it has been a pleasure, and I am sure that this will not be the last time we meet.
I hope not. Keep
Certainly.
the boys safe.
I shall. Brom and Bray have enjoyed having company. I suppose that in your absence and without the carnival man, the Blue Water Inn shall be a bit quieter for a bit of a time. But we shall get by. We have done so before. And he offers you a genuine smile and squeezes your hand before pulling his back.
Earthrendeer looks at the broken chair with a bit of a look and kind of, for a moment, he sits down next to it, presses the two pieces together, and starts to hum. And he is going to take a moment to cast Mending.
Erwin blinks, stepping toward you. Don't worry about it, it's quite... And then as you finish the spell, you watch as the tiny sinews of flesh begin weaving across the broken leg and the main base of the chair. Erwin watches in quiet wonderment as the two pieces are knitted back together, the sinews vanishing into the wood. Well. Huh.
If anyone asks, you know a very good woodworker.
I know quite a few good woodworkers. And he smiles at you and winks.
He nods and returns it. Good luck, sir.
Good luck to you.
Lillison is slow to gather up all her stuff, but as she follows the others down into the tap room and towards the door, she sees if she can find Danica.
You can, and following Erwin's directions, he guides you and the others into the wine storage adjacent to the kitchen. There you see Danica standing in the room with Elvir, talking in quiet tones. They look up as you approach. Danica offering a wan smile. Good, you are ready to go.
I am
The wagon is being prepared for you. Yes. Mm-hmm.
I am very, very sorry for all of the trouble that we have brought with us.
There is no need to apologize. Barovia is a land that has always had troubles and perhaps always will. But that does not mean that we cannot do what we can to ease the burden.
I do not know what else we might be able to do for you or your family, or, as she looks over at Elvir, the rest of your family. I do not know what we can do without bringing further disaster with us, but if there is something that we can do whenever you have need, please give us the chance.
Danica sighs, and then she smiles softly. I suppose that it is not a request as such, but there is something that... She glances back to the kitchen. Something that Erwin's father told me once that has stuck with me. That perhaps it would do me good to see passed on.
Yes?
He shared with me a few pieces of advice that he has kept in his family for many generations. I have done my best to stay with them. I know that if you have met him, Davian Martikov can be a gruff old man. But the lessons that he taught me were simple. When you find a diamond in the rough, do not abandon it, but polish it. Let it shine. Second, when you see those in need, do not stray for selfishness, but do what you can to share what you can and make the good that you can. And thirdly, be guarded. Know that there are things that would take knowledge from you from their own ends, but when you find those you can trust, hold on to them, for they are more precious than anything in the world.
Wilson looks a little sad as she listens, and at the end, she just nods very quietly.
The door is opened, and you hear Adrian's voice from the opposite side. I've prepared the straw you requested. If you'd like, I'd be more than glad to see to it that the rest of the cargo is stowed. Danica nods. Yes, of course, we'll be there in a minute. And she turns to you. This entrance is set up in a way. The wagon is already directioned. You should be able to make your way outdoors without being seen. From there, you should be able to stow yourselves into the hay, and Adrian and Elvira will take it from there.
All right. Thank you so much.
Of course. He is ready for you whenever you are.
Let's crack on then, yeah?
Yeah. Time to go.
Yeah, we head out. We go find this wagon.
Fucking wagon wheel playing in the background.
Together, you step outside through the side door of the inn, and as you do, you notice that the familiar wagon that you rode here has been positioned quite close to the door. You can see it's been filled with a large pile of straw that easily stretches up several feet into the air, filling the entirety of its wide bed. You can see that on either side, specifically toward the more populated side of town, several barrels have been stacked high, obstructing the view of anyone who might peer from the road. And as you open the door and step outside, Adrian catches your glance from his place by the horse in the seat of the cart and says, "Excellent. Very good. If you'll get everything into the cart quickly, we'll be setting off then."
Yeah, I guess we just kind of sheepishly and sneakily try to like bury ourselves under hay.
Yep.
It is a unpleasant, scratchy, dark, and slightly suffocating experience. but one by one, each of you are able to kind of pile yourselves a bit awkwardly into this very strange, somewhat unpleasantly positioned pile underneath the mound of hay. There is much elbow jostling and perhaps one or two muttered curses, but within the span of a minute or so, each of the 7 of you are buried beneath the hay. You hear Adrian give a satisfied grunt as you hear Elvir's footsteps make their way around the side of the cart. You hear Erwin's voice say, "Be safe on the road. We'll see you soon." And at that moment, you feel his words directed not only at the driver, but at its passengers as well. Adrian bids Erwin farewell, and you hear the crack of the reins as the soft snorting of the remaining horse and the clip-clopping of horseshoes over the muddy cobblestone road fill your ears. Slowly, over the course of 5, 10, 15 minutes, you hear the sound of the wagon creaking and groaning, slightly swaying from side to side. You hear the rattling of the wagon wheels on either side of the bed of the cart, the occasional whinny of the horse as it continues forward, and before long, you hear Adrian's voice, slightly muffled through the hay, say, "Good morning, gents. Just headed back to the winery." There's a few moments of muffled conversation, and then you hear the whine, the creaking groaning of metal squealing against rusted metal. You hear Adrian say, "Thank you, gents. A fine day to you both. Take care." And then the horse and the wagon are off once again, rolling ahead. A few moments later, you hear the squeal of iron as what you presume to be the gates of Vallaki close shut behind you once more. And another 5 minutes pass as you feel the wagon turning down the road, and you hear a cough, and the wagon stops. You hear footsteps coming out to the rear side of the cart, and you hear Adrian's voice say, "All right, I think that's done it. If you'd all like to come out now."
Please. And Earthrendeer just extricates his lanky body, visibly wincing. Oh, there is not enough space in there for people this tall. Amity's horns were bumping into me the whole time.
Yeah, that tail is a bit much, isn't it, Amity? Oh, no offense, love, but oh.
Thank y'all. I'm surprised it went that smoothly. I was expecting a search, at least.
Well, don't jinx us now. They could be following us or something.
Well, if they are, then they're going to have a very unpleasant afternoon.
Nothing
From what I
gets
could
in the
tell,
way
they
of
didn't seem
Earthrendeer's
overly...
swimming adventure.
Was that?
He gives her a shush look, but it's affectionate.
Adrian looks a bit bemused, but carries on. "Yes, well, luckily they didn't seem overly interested. It seems that not everyone might be as zealous with the Baron's current actions. They seem to be a bit on edge, perhaps after the events of last night. More willing to let others leave town than take any trouble. Regardless," and he glances out to the southern side of the path, where you can see behind you a number of abandoned old huts and cottages that have kind of rankled down in the old forest earth. Behind you, past the mists, you can just faintly see the very edge of Vallaki's wall. But to the south side, you can see several dirt trails and paths that wind forth on the south side into the dark green grass in the woods beyond that. From what I've been told, it seems that if we follow those paths, we should eventually get to the local Vistani camp. I'm not sure of your intentions there, but we're looking to purchase an additional horse. You hear Elver kind of grunt at that. Adrian flashes him a look, just sighing. And hopefully the haggling shouldn't take longer than an hour or two. We'll get the new beast saddled up and ready to hitch to the cart, and then we'll head back to the winery.
You've tried it with these Vistani before, right?
We've had very occasional dealings. Some of them can be a bit of an unsavory lot, but if you're looking for horseflesh, there's not much of a better breeder or dealer than a Vistani.
Right. But they're pretty amiable, right? Then, they seem open to bargaining and willing and all that.
Well, they're certainly willing to do business, I'm told. We'll see when we get there. I've not dealt with them personally myself, though my father has some stories.
Mitra looks back to the others, kind of like sort of doing that sort of gesture towards the Mardikovs.
Earthrendeer nods reluctantly. Alright, yeah, no, I guess it makes sense to get them while the day's still fresh.
Of course, in fairness, there is a bit of bitterness between us, although it's mostly in jest. They are our main competitors for the wine trade in the valley, but they deal only intermittently, so it's more of a running joke than anything. Regardless, if you have any business with the Vistani, you're welcome to accompany us. If not, we bid you well.
No, we'll come with you, yeah?
Yeah.
Sounds
Yeah.
great.
Very good. If I might ask, where are you planning on heading next?
Well, we'll see once we get there, right?
Depends on information we may acquire there.
He nods. Of course. He looks a little bit curious, but very good. Then let's set off and meet some Vistani, shall we?
Yeah, let's go.
Together, following the wagon and making your way on foot alongside it, you make your way through the woods and trees. As you do, however, Elvir pauses and blinks. Oh, wait! Sorry, I completely forgot. He reaches into the side of the seat and hops out of the cart as it comes to a stop. He makes his way toward Irina. I don't know what it is, but Owen said that this was for you. He said that a friend gave them to him for safekeeping. Irina blinks and accepts them somewhat gratefully. Right, okay. She glances over the parcel, just kind of wrapped in paper. Looking somewhat inquisitive and helpless, she opens it, and within you see her breastplate and her rapier.
You got
Someone's
a good friend
looking out
somewhere.
for you.
How did... Okay. She sets the wrapping aside in the cart. Right, that's... I'll put it down as we go. Thank you. Elvir just shrugs. Well, he wanted me to give them over. I'm glad to see it seems to be useful. Irina nods. Right. She steps back to the group as Elvir and Adrian resume their travel atop the seat of the cart. As Irina turns over the breastplate in her hands, she steps back toward the rest of you and Ismark. She murmurs aloud, but seemingly almost to herself. I lost these when... at the mansion. How did they get it?
Well, the Mardikovs are fairly resourceful, yeah?
I think the less questions we ask, the happier they'll be. And for once in my life, I'm fine with that.
She exhales. I suppose it's... I'm grateful. Really, it's just... I don't know, it's strangely frustrating. Am I unfair for saying that?
Oh, not remotely. I have been chafing at the edges of this place since we got here. Nothing makes any sense, nothing follows the laws of magic, everyone has some sort of secret, and it's a load of bullshit. You're allowed to be frustrated by that. It's not fun, but it's kind of the water we're swimming in.
She chuckles, though there's not much humor in it. Right, I suppose. The truth be told, I think I would like it if the secrets would stop.
Yeah, me too.
It just feels like I just couldn't stop thinking about it last night. He didn't mention the devil. Metreon, I know you were trying to be kind in the attic before, but he found me. I was... you did such a wonderful job disguising me and hiding me away, and he still found me. And the dolls and... why was he obsessed with me? Why did he know about me? It's...
Best not to dwell on it, love. He's dead. You know, it got you out of there. You don't ever have to be back there anymore. He's dead. Just try to think of now and tomorrow and the next day. And realize that he's not going to be there.
I tried
to Kiva, as he says it.
I tried to do that. I tried to just get some sleep, and I just kept circling back to it. It's first that it was the devil coming to me in the night, and I couldn't stop thinking to myself, why me? I thought I was just unlucky. And then Isaac, he knew my face. He said he had dreams about me. And now I'm sure the Mortughevs mean well. It feels like everyone but me knows who I am. Except me.
Kiva sort of takes a step in closer to her, and offers a comforting hand. Just says, it's okay to feel like you don't know what's going on. We'll figure it out together, and if you need to talk it out and talk about what you think and your theories, then we'll listen to you. But I can promise you that when you're with us, we're not going to let anything happen to you again. Isaac or the devil, sure, they know more about you than you do, or they claim to. But what matters is that you're alive now, and every moment that you are is an absolute defiance of what they want you to be. You have the power to choose who you are. Not those men. You do.
You hear her stifle a kind of choking sob. It's not that, I know who I want to be, or at least I thought I did. It feels like there is a story that I have walked into at the last minute, and everyone knows the tale, and everyone knows what's going on with me. This isn't the first time I felt like this. I've always felt strange. My mother didn't have red hair. Nobody in Barovia had red hair. She said it was beautiful and set me apart. Why am I so different? I want to know.
Sometimes it's just like that, love.
Trust the group of tieflings and elves. We don't get to choose who we are or what stories we're put into. I think it just sort of happens to all of us. But if the end of your story is anything like the beginning, it is going to be full of a strong, beautiful woman figuring out who she is and what she's going to make of her life. The answers will come.
There's a moment as your footsteps echo, scratching off the dirt road. And then you hear Ismark's voice sounding slightly guilty cough, and say, I suppose I can provide one of those answers.
Oh?
What?
Oh?
Irina looks at him, eyes wide. What do you... He glances at the rest of you. It wasn't mine to tell. Does it... I don't know if you want me to share in front of them, and Irina shakes her. No, whatever you want to tell me, you can tell them. We're in this together now. Please, if you know something, I just want to know. Please. Ismark slowly nods and says, right. There was a story that Father used to tell me. He was in the woods that day. He was looking for a hunter that had gone missing. There was a bit of a search party that he had organized. They weren't going to be there long. They were just venturing off to the north area, a bit away from town, right near the base of the mountain, right where the trees meet the grass. And unfortunately, they never found the man who'd gone missing. Well, not alive. They found him later, a bit of a ways away, a few miles east. But that's not here nor there. But while Father was looking for him, somewhere around the Pillar of Stone of Ravenloft, he found something else. He found someone else. He looks his lips looking very dry. It was a little girl. She was lost and confused. She didn't seem to know much, but Father always said she had kind eyes. He said that she needed help. And the way he told it, he always made sure I knew that she had beautiful red hair, red like fire. You can see that Irina's eyes are already beginning to bead with tears as Ismark steps kind of alongside her. He and Mother, they loved you dearly. They love you dearly from wherever they are right now. You are family. And I wanted to tell you this when it was right. It wasn't mine to share it. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. Irina pauses in the road, just stopping still. You see her just kind of staring blankly forward, her lips moving very faintly. Ismark kind of steps forward, wincing, and places a hand on her shoulder. She doesn't resist him, but doesn't react either.
Hey, you wanna maybe take a seat? We could get them to slow down.
Yes, of course. He kind of turns up. If you don't mind, we're going to just take a brief rest. Just 5 minutes, please. Adrian glances back. Sure, that shouldn't be a problem. We'll just pull over here. And they do so. Ismark kind of just gently guides Irina to the side of a log sitting on the side of the trail. She just kind of slowly sits down. There's a moment of silence, and then she says, "It's funny just how much makes sense now."
As we're stopped, can I just see if I hear any, like wolves or anything?
Make a perception check.
All right. Nope, 4.
Not that you can tell. The forest seems dark and quiet around you. The trees rustling very faintly. The mist slowly crawling across the earth.
Earthrendir steps back with Lillison and says in a very low voice, he said Pillarstone or Ravenloft, right? Where they found her. Like...
I think so, yes.
From the position where we are, is the castle visible?
From this position, no, you are in the Svellige Woods, and even if you were not, the castle is behind several mountains from the position of Vallaki.
He looks in that direction. That doesn't bode well.
Ismark kind of tries to pull Irina into a very awkward side hug, kind of very awkwardly, and that just kind of patting her shoulder. I know it's a lot, and I just want you to know that no matter what, I'm your brother, and I love you, and I want to see you safe and happy, and I'm sorry. Irina kind of just takes a moment, kind of considering that and visibly turning it over in her head. You watch as she slowly sighs and kind of leans her head against Ismark's shoulder, taking his hand in hers. I know and I understand, and I love you too. But he just found me in the woods, you say, right? Just somewhere in the trees? Did he know where I came from? There's a note of kind of vague pleading in her voice, and Ismark shakes his head. I'm sorry. He just found you. We don't know from where. Irina nods. Right. Then there are still answers I need to find. And she sits up, squeezes Ismark's hand again, and stands. Takes 3 deep breaths. And begins stepping back toward the wagon.
You alright then, yeah? You good to go?
I'll be fine. We need to get to the Vistani, yes?
Yeah.
Alright then, let's go.
At some point, while we're kind of walking on the road, Metron would like to try and kind of fall back away from the others, but in doing so, try and get Irina's attention.
All right, I would say you're able to do so. She blinks and glances toward you and steps a bit closer.
And I want to be like enough away from the rest of the party, so it's not necessarily in earshot or direct earshot.
I think that's reasonable enough.
Okay. Hi, listen. I'm sure that was a lot to hear, yeah?
I'll be fine. I knew that I didn't belong in Barovia. I found that I don't belong in Vallaki. That's fine. I just need answers. And I know that I need to keep looking on for them, and I'll find them. It's going to be okay.
If you don't mind a bit of unsolicited advice, but don't get your hopes up. And I don't mean that to be negative, but I just mean it to be real. I know a bit about not belonging, not knowing where you come from, and you were really lucky to find a family that loves you as much as Ismark and presumably your mom and pop did. Whatever you've are looking for. You may find it, you may not, but just know that you had it at least a little bit good. Don't take that for granted.
She considers that and then offers you a small, sad smile. I know. Believe me, I know. I can feel that there's something missing. Whatever it is, I'm going to find it.
I appreciate your determination. I kind of envy you in that respect.
I mean, I'm flattered, I guess. The way I see it, I have a choice. I can go to sleep every night and see the eyes of the devil and Izek Strasny watching me every night as I sleep. Or I can take the other things in my dreams, the faces, that sense that there's something else, and I can follow that. I can choose what I dream about. Or at least I can try.
Trying's all we've got, yeah?
At least for now.
And Metron just gives her a little bit of a half smile and turns his attention back to the road.
As this is going on, Lillison is actually going to fall back a little bit to keep in pace with Kiva. And she's going to reach out and gently touch Kiva's arm and just say, "How are you feeling?"
Oh, me? Fine. I woke up this morning, so I guess that's a start. How are you feeling?
I don't know. I don't know what to expect now.
Kiva just sort of exhales, almost like a laugh, but there's nothing humored in it. She sort of says, "Well, I have come to expect a lot of fear and a nice helping of disappointment. So if you're feeling that way, then you've got a friend in me."
And if I'm not?
You still do, if you'll have me.
Lillison smiles at her and pats her shoulder a few times. And then she's going to fall back a little bit more until she's walking by herself, and her smile just disappears as she looks at her hand and kind of closes it into a fist and opens it again and just looks very confused and concerned.
And as she falls back, the woods before you part to reveal an expansive clearing, a small grass-covered hill with low houses built into its sides. Fog obscures most of the details, but you can see that these buildings feature elegantly carved woodwork and have decorative lanterns hanging from their sculpted eaves. Atop the hill, above the fog, is a ring of barrel-topped wagons that surround a large tent with a column of smoke pouring out through a hole in the tent. The tent is lit brightly from within, and even at this distance, you can smell the odors of wine and horses that emanate from the central area.
This it then?
Well, this is a sight more cheering than I was expecting. They've got a home here.
Adrian frowns. Odd. I've never heard of the Vistani to set up permanent homes. He shrugs.
Well, you never know. Maybe some of them liked it here for... He's about to say for whatever reason, but then looks at Adrian and kind of shakes it off. Well, maybe they just like the weather? I don't know. But it's good for us.
He shrugs and directs the horse to proceed forward, clip-clopping along the old, muddy dirt trail, passing through wagon tracks left by, you presume, the barrel-topped wagons atop the rise. As you go closer to the house at the northern end of the hill, you can see a grim, gray-cloaked figure standing in front of the door to this house, resembling no Vistani you've ever seen. It regards you from beneath its cowl as the wagon slowly rattles its way up the wagon track hill toward the camp up top.
Does this figure look like it's watching us, or?
It does. At the sight of this figure, Adrian pauses the cart and offers a bit of a wave. Good morning. I do believe this is the Vistani camp, yes? We were looking to purchase a horse, perhaps. The figure regards you from beneath the cowl. You see a man's face with dark skin, wearing a cloak over the shoulders, and this close. Actually, let me double check something. Yes, you can actually see from this distance, the hood down, you can actually see that the figure in front of the house has pointed ears. As he nods toward Adrian and says, if you're looking for horses, Vistani will be up the hill. It'll be your best bet.
Earthrendeer stopped breathing.
Yeah, Kiva looks like floored right now.
He just looks over at her and just makes a head motion like, if you're not going to go, I am. And then he just clambers off the cart and as quickly as he can move without actually running, starts heading in their direction.
You don't have to tackle the man. Kiva will follow.
I'm not tackling anyone, I promise. And he just
looks very kind of taken aback. Just kind of taking a step back. You see his hand kind of go to a, I believe he's holding a spear at his side.
Hey, we're not anybody. And he just, Earthrendeer just like throws down his cloak and pulls his hair back. Hey, we're friends. Nice to meet you.
A pleasure, I'm sure. You're with you were looking, if you're looking for horses, the Vistani tent is up there. Unless you were looking for someone else to talk to.
I mean, of course, I don't want to take you away from your guard duty, but I wasn't expecting to meet any other elves here. It's a pleasure.
Of course. Unfortunately, I am a bit preoccupied, but if you were looking to, I confess, we don't get many other elves out in these parts. You're what, Sun Elf?
Yeah, I'm from out east. Way east.
Outsiders. Of course. Well, I'm not much for conversation, but if you're looking for someone, I reckon you could chat with Casimir. He's got the house down the south side.
That'd be lovely.
Sarah sent you.
Yeah, can do, and it's a pleasure. Thank you.
Of course.
He nods and turns away, and he's just like almost vibrating with glee as he climbs back onto the cart.
To clarify, the name is Seraz, Seraz.
Gotcha. Thank you. Holy shit!
Right, calm down.
You heard him. You see him. I've never... He just kind of like makes helpless hand motions, just like, I'm not gonna...
Look, he's not any kind of elf that I'm familiar with either, but we don't need to, like, I don't know.
No, you don't
He's
get
fine.
it. You heard him. It's the same accent. It's like it might be a branch, an offshoot or something, one that came here years ago. And do you understand what this means? If they've developed their own independent culture here, like in coexistence with another, who knows how many centuries ago they broke off, but... And he just, like, starts rifling through his bag. All right, shit, before I meet Casimir, I need some interview questions, I need paper. Do any of you have parchment?
Oh my god, you're such a nerd. She's gonna hand over a couple pieces of paper from her, like,
Adrian
notebook
just kind of-
that she took.
Adrian kind of glances over the lot of you bemused. Do you want to... We can meet you after we purchase the horse if you want to talk to this person.
I think that would be best, yes, says Lilson as she, like, takes out one of the books that she looted from Death House and just hands the whole thing over to Erthendir.
Erthendir gives both of you a delightful nod before taking the cap off his pen with his teeth and just starts scribbling.
Well, I
Metron
think that
looks
will take a
perplexed.
good hour or so to haggle over everything and get things set up, so perhaps we'll meet you at the top of the hill by the tent.
Yeah, thanks. Good job. Good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
He looks a little bemused at that, but nods regardless. Yes, Metreon?
No, well, Mitran looking confused at all this elven geekery, kind of motions back over to the Mardikovs. Oh, no, let them do their thing. I'll come with you.
All right. That shouldn't be a problem. Metron with us, I suppose, and the rest of you are welcome to join us as you may.
Yeah, go ahead.
He nods.
Kiva actually,
Yes?
she looks a little torn between going to both places, and she's sort of actually looking for, like, one of the other people to make the choice for her.
Lilson's gonna look over at Kiva and say, "You choose one, I'll take the other."
Why don't I go with Metreon, and you can go with Earthendir?
All right. If anything happens, anything that requires something, I'll send you a message.
All right. Look forward to it, but not something happening.
Yeah, where does Amity go, actually?
Amity will proceed with Erthendir. She is not a fan of Vistani. She says, well, I don't really... I mean, everyone says the Vistani are a little... they're like Strahd, right? So these elves, they seem a lot friendlier, yeah? So I'll go with you, and Metreon can let us know when he finds out how to escape, all right?
Yeah, that's fair. Izzy, Arena, you want to come with us?
They exchange looks, and frown. Ismark looks up at the Vistani. Just, given what... I mean, the Mortakovs might think the Vistani are safe, but just to be on the safe side, perhaps, Irina, you go with, to meet the elves, and we'll see what the Vistani can offer for means of transport, whatever means they might have. I know it's that, there's probably someone watching us right now, but if nothing else, we're not going to make it even easier.
Yes, there's someone watching us everywhere. We're an impressive regime. Can we get going?
Bismarck actually chuckles faintly at that. Right. He frowns. Although, actually, now that I think of it, you know what? Let's not do that. I'll go with you and Metreon and Lilson. You can just let us know what you find, all right?
Okay, but yeah, stay here. Just be safe with the nerds, and Kiva and I will let you know what's going on.
Of course. We'll make sure that everyone stays safe.
Right. Shall we then?
Yeah, go. Yeah. Looks up, there's an ink spot on his nose. Right, okay, you're all sorted. And he just, takes off with the half run towards the house that the guard pointed to.
Such nerds.
Kiva just, rolls her eyes a little bit and then flexes her arm a little bit and she says, yeah, we're much better company.
Littleton looks at both of you, shakes her head a little bit, shrugs, smiles and walks off after Earthrendir.
Kiva, you'd probably notice that Metreon didn't kind of engage with your little flex, but his eyes were sort of focused on Lillison as she's walking down the path.
I thought it was Ismark you're interested in.
I mean, you know, I'll take what I can get, but no, that's not it. You think
Something you want to share with the group?
Something's different. I know that she wasn't, you know, touchy-feely in the first place, but now she is, and every time she does, it's like touching something that's ice cold.
Well, I can't speak for all elves, but cold doesn't necessarily bother me. I mean, I'm in, like, sleeveless armor, so, you know, I'm sort of always a little chilly, but why? Does something seem different?
Something is different. Look,
Okay.
I don't know how to tell you this. And Metreon sort of furrows his brow, squinting a bit as he's trying to come up with a way to tell her. I mean, you know, I said I was good with magic, and well, that wasn't entirely true before I got here. But something's happening to me, and I don't know what, but I think it's happening to her too.
Kiva looks like suddenly very understanding. Look, I did something last night that I've never been able to do before. I healed Earthrendir with a touch. I have new awareness of things that I never noticed before. It doesn't surprise me that this place is changing us somehow. But if you couldn't do magic before, I mean, that ice thing you did, like, that was something that happened to you here.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I could do magic, but no, I mean, the point is that something happened to her, and I can't say how I know, but she's different than us. You got a good, you're good at talking to her. You got a good rapport with her. Something happened in the house, and I don't know what that something was, but maybe you could find out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if she'll talk to me. The stuff she says to me is, I think, as much of a lie as the stuff she says to everyone else. Not that I blame her, but yeah, I'll try. I mean, do you feel like it's unsafe to be around her?
It could be. I mean, if she's not willing to tell us, and if I could just speak plainly, I think that she's like them.
Like who, exactly?
Like living dead.
Oh. I know this place is fucked up, but I mean, come on, that seems a little impossible, right? Like, the only living dead we know are vampires, and she's walking around right now, like, not drinking everyone's blood.
I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but I've heard of other things. I don't know much about them. I'm sure Randy has tomes on the subject. I'm sure Amity, probably has some fables, some fairy tales on it. And he quickly starts to rifle through his bag and pulls out the dog-eared copy of that Van Richten book that he stole from Ismark. This one here talks about other kinds of creatures, zombies and spirits and things like that. Maybe she's something like that. Maybe she, I don't know. But
All right. One thing at a time. Let's figure this out, and then I'd like to see that book of yours, and then I'll try to talk to Lilson. But I also think we should be careful. Don't talk to anyone else about this.
I'm not gonna, but we need to find out what's what. Because if we can get out with these people, I'm not bringing her with us if she's one of them.
Kiva looks like really torn and just says, let's see if we can even get out first before we make that decision, okay?
Metreon sort of gets this defeated look on his face when she
Look,
says,
I'm not saying you're wrong, but look, maybe we can use whatever she is then to our advantage if she's one of them. Maybe that's valuable to these people.
Let's go talk to these people, see if they can help us.
Kiva, looks over her shoulder and just casts this, suspicious and disappointed look in the direction that Lilith, and then follows Metreon.
All right, so just to confirm who's heading which way, I know Erthrindir, Ismark, and Irina with Amity are heading toward Casimir's house, and
I believe Lilith is as well.
Gotcha.
Yep.
And Kiva and Metreon are heading with Adrian and Elvir up the hill.
Yep.
All right. And so as Metreon and the others begin heading their way up the hill toward the Vistani camp, as the rest of you with Erthrindir eagerly leading you forward around the small circle of houses at the base of the hill, following a promise and the hint of perhaps knowledge or friendship or understanding to obtain. That is where we will end it for today.
Such an uplifting session.
Oh my goodness.
Really,
it kind of was.
Really full of
The
lighthearted
whirlwind of
comedy.
emotions.
Yep. There was a lot.
This is probably our goofiest episode yet. I think
It's a goofy show for kids. With slapstick and
Yeah.
I'm channeling my inner Alex Hirsch, can't you tell?
Yep.
Man.
Well, after this, I need several naps, so.
Yeah. I am
That's an
going
eternal
to,
D&D mood.
I'm going to let Erthrindir be enthusiastic and go lie down.
All right. With that, I think that's all we've got for today. So thank you to everyone for tuning in today. As always, we will see you back in the mists next week. Until then, listen to the whisperings of the soul and take care.